Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and tonight we got Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You happening as we get ready for Geraldine. Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon, and best of all of you are here to take a break from what is happening on election night. So we thank you very, very much for that. Let us say hello to race fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman and his goatee, with a silver, Kitty Caddywhack with a nice bronze medal tonight. So make sure you say hello and give him a wave for being successful tonight. Robert Lamoth, T-Bone, my man, Brown Dwarf, Joanne, how are you all doing? In the studio, what's happening? Les Paul Holland strumming away on his guitar collection in Australia. Acryong has returned. Acryong will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Frankie B, how you doing? Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness. Never feels comfortable. Just smooth as silk, that is. Smooth as silk. Man, it's going to be a good show tonight. Who's next? Cosmic Joe, how you doing? Nice to see you. Hi there, Road Flare. And number 26 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Mark Sanchez in his collection of Hawaiian shirts. Nice to see you. Mark Sanchez will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Kicking on here, we have Laura Lobbs, Operation Shutdown. Purple-haired Pixie Lara, how are you, beautiful? Necessary Dialogue, Kimberly Burgess, nice to see you both. So we continue on with our roll call tonight. Hello there, Marty Burback. And who's next? Matthew Gutka. Algaray over on Twitch, not working out tonight. 147 cups of coffee today. He is jacked up and buzzing for tonight's show with Geraldine. Eriko, Candy, J Truth Seeker. Nice to see you all here tonight. Hi there, Nina Williams. Thank you for coming on in. Ethanol, nice to see you. And we're caught up. We are caught up. Well, what the hell do we do now? Drew Banky. There he is. Drew Banky. Drew Banky. Trucker Andrew, how you doing, buddy? Give us a little honk on the horn if you don't mind, if you're driving. If not, then maybe tomorrow morning or something like that. All right, Dirty Filth is here. Hopefully we'll get a blob sighting tonight. That's always exciting when that happens. And let's get the radio sign going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in as we have Geraldine Orozco coming up with the Spiritual You. Geraldine is a monthly contributor to this show, so we're going to have some fun with her tonight. We are in the middle of roll call, so bear with us as we say hello to Jessica S. Hillbilly Herb, how you doing, my man? And we are caught up on our roll call so far. Yes, we only have 2 people in the chat room. No, I'm teasing. A lot more there, but I raced through them a little too quickly. Reminder to all of you that the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Hi there, Jennifer Beveridge. And of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. And you wear our stuff out in public just because it looks good. It does. Nothing ugly there. Kufunia, how are you, beautiful? I hope you're doing well. Been a while. Good to see you. It's almost that time of night where old Davey is going to get behind the microphone. And he is going to ask all of you to raise your horns. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SLR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally between every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out, Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Jive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Jive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have a wonderful show ready for you tonight. Geraldine Orozco will be with us momentarily. She is having a computer crash as we speak, so she's rebooting. She'll be here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller has another awesome set of stories for us. Follow that up with Robin Haynes, who will bring in the Cryptid Report. We're going to start off with a little bit of breaking news here before we bring in Geraldine Orozco. I'm actually quite shocked by this, to be blunt. Quite shocked. After the infamous now ceiling light photo, the ULP as we are calling it around here, unidentified lighting phenomena, Lou Elizondo has been asked to testify at the next congressional hearings next week. He will join Christopher Mellon and Tim Gallaudet as the 3 witnesses who will come out and testify. I'm a little shocked by this, people. This is breaking. This is something that I was not prepared for, especially after what happened last week. But apparently Lou Elizondo will testify about UFOs. All right, we'll get more on that tomorrow night. But now we're going to get to Geraldine Orozco. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. She is literally one of my favorite people in this field. She really is. She's a pranic healer. She's a regression therapist. She's an experiencer. She wears a plethora of hats and has a mighty fine shoe collection at the same time. Geraldine is based out of San Francisco, California, where she has her business, Bay Area Meditation. And literally, she helps people from all around the world find their Zen, their Chi, a lead to their spirituality, a new path that is more desirable than the rugged everyday life that most of us lead. Once again, her website is GeraldineOrozco.com. Geraldine, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. How are you, my friend?
Hi, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here as always.
Oh, you're so kind. Very politically correct tonight, considering. But that is beautiful. Beautiful. What are you doing?
Yeah, thank you.
How you been doing?
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much. How about you? You look great.
Well, it's because I got a haircut last week.
Nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm liking the shorter hair again. I think I've gone through my
It
long
looks
hair phase
great.
for a while, you
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
but I mean, having to stare at your hair each and every month while I do this show, it embarrassed my locks because you have such a beautiful set of hair.
Oh,
So
your hair is amazing. It's so thick
I
and beautiful. So it looks great. Very fresh, very young, very sharp.
thank you very much. We bring you on monthly on this show to kind of bring us all back down to level where we should be as humans, where we should be as people. People are stressed out on a daily basis. They get hammered by the media, their friends, social media each and every day. And they come to us and they're like, hey, man, let's just relax. Let's have a good time. Geraldine, there is a lot on your plate as well as you help the many of these people try and find a new path to spirituality for people who may not have heard you before. Do me a favor and explain how this became your life going from corporate America to leading spiritual discussions about everything from extraterrestrial contact to past life regression to energy healing.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, I was in the corporate world, but I was raised in a pretty spiritual family. So I was raised meditating at a very early age and having experiences and very heightened intuition since I was a child. And really very anomalous experiences that happened several times in my life that really made me question, what is real and uh, going deeper into those spiritual aspects. So, although I did spend time in the corporate world, my I funded Bay Area meditation um, pretty early on, like almost simultaneously, because I wanted to share the importance and the power of meditation and also the impact that meditation had had on my life, changing completely. So, I went through several questions about what is the purpose of suffering and the things that happen in our life that cause such challenges. And that's when I began to realize that the majority of us, we really don't know what love or peace or harmony really is. And I discovered that pretty early on. And when I did, it made me very curious why we as a human race have such a hard time being familiar with these incredibly healing, creative, and powerful emotions. So I guess going into retreat several times throughout my career, I began to uncover my own programming, my own traumas, my own belief systems, and questioning them. And that's where things started to change completely, both interdimensionally for me and psychologically, mentally, physically. I began to access higher abilities and intuition. And then in 2013, when I had my contact experience, that's when things completely ripped wide open. And I began to understand that we are not alone on this planet. Not only are we not alone, but we are a profoundly intelligent race of consciousness that emerges from many species of intelligence. We are one of which, and we navigate and we interact with these species constantly. So it really speaks to our evolution and it speaks to our purpose here on Earth. Um, there is very strong indication, not only genetically, epigenetically, psychologically, socially, and culturally, that every human that is born on this planet has a very profound purpose to heal their ancestral lineage through this kind of meditation work, through this kind of healing. And after working with so many people over the years, I see it time and time again how families' lives transform, individual lives transform in such powerful ways. So it's been a really beautiful, powerful journey, and learning every single day about the depths of this reality that we live in, that we call reality.
I remember when you got started. I remember Lorian Fenton talking to me and saying, you're not going to believe this young, beautiful lady that I have met in San Francisco. And Dave, you need to talk to her. She goes, I'm going to interview her. I'm going to warm her up, but I want her to go on SOR and tell her incredible story. And I remember I was so excited to have you on the air. This is going back almost 7 years already. Hard to believe, 7 years. And
Yeah.
now here you are, you're a leader in the field. You are someone who is highly respected. You are somebody who has come out of her shell in order to help people, like it is your mantra and what you are supposed to be doing by following your path. Now, everybody has their ups and downs. How do you balance your ups and downs to continue the path that you need to do for not only yourself, but for the people who are looking to you as a mentor, as a spiritual guide?
Yeah, there is no perfect being, or there is, even if we go through these kinds of incredible experiences, there is no end to this evolution as humans. I mean, the human experience is really about constant change, constant transformation, constant learning. Um, and I think we need to step away from this concept that there's an end goal or some kind of ideal way of being, because in reality, the level of things that we know as humans and that we even understand about ourselves is so small. There's so much to learn, and the nature of this entire construct of the universe is cyclical. It's the Fibonacci sequence, which is encoded in everything, in nature, in life, in emotions, in families, in incarnation patterns, in trauma, and how trauma is even embedded and inherited into family lineages. So, how I navigate that and how I maintain is just being completely realistic at how we are constantly moving through these cycles. And I think it's really important that we kind of dispel any kind of illusions and fantasies that we might have about the spiritual evolution. And also, the deeper we go within ourselves, the deeper we connect and take time for that silence, the stronger our spiritual foundation and knowing of ourselves become. And less we need others to tell us who we are, or validate or provide acknowledgement in any way. You become the centripetal force of creation. And that's something that I love to teach. And I try to apply that in my life in every way: immediate transformation, transmutation when things are shifting and moving.
You have so many success stories out there of people who have used your teaching, your guidance on helping make their lives a little bit easier, a little bit better. I know you've worked with me before, and I've just, you've helped lay a foundation that I had forgotten that I had had. Do we all know about this path where we're supposed to go and just forget which direction we're going? Or do we have to build that path on our own?
That's such an interesting question. And thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's an honor to have connected with you and everybody in the community, really, for me. But it's such an interesting question that you ask, because I was just talking about this with my client this morning, coincidentally, because essentially, what we perceive as evolution, as change and healing, um, we oftentimes, hold on, I forgot the what was the key thing that you wanted to ask, because I'm thinking about something else now, and now I'm sorry.
Oh, just it was just in regards to have we forgotten this
Oh,
spiritual
yeah.
path we're
thank
supposed to be on?
Thank you. Sorry, I have two thoughts going about this same topic. I want to make sure I can share them both. Yeah. So, you know what it really is, and humans are remembering all of this stuff. We are actually remembering, and we're uncovering the suppressed awareness that we are infinite potential. Okay, that's one very important element of this. We are innately infinite potential. And I think as children, we kind of know that because we have such profound abilities. We have intuition. We have all of these incredible tools to see interdimensional beings, And that is often squashed down by the programming or the suppression or fear of our own parents or community or society or our friends. And so that innate part of us that is curious, that is, a childlike state of awe, that is willing to look through the unknown in a very innocent and open manner, that is something that actually through the spiritual awakening, we are returning back to. And that state of being is not just a way of thinking. It's actually a bioelectrical structure in the body. When we return back to that childlike state, the way that energy is flowing through the body is incredibly fluid, incredibly open, as opposed to maybe an adult that has gone through a tremendous amount of trauma that begins to contract their energy, block the energy flow, even through their organs, through their emotional body. So that for one part, we are kind of returning back to that innate aspect of ourselves. It's a natural design. It's a natural architecture of the human. But on the other side of that, I think there's also an element that we are also pioneers, because in our society, as a result of social engineering, as a result of all these constructs that we have built together with one another through the ages, through this dimension, and through this timeline, this collective timeline that we share, I think humanity has fallen asleep, and we're going through a cycle of deep separation back to unity consciousness. So this is a cycle, and it happens, through the ages as humanity is evolving. And we see that in the pattern of our history. As we move more towards unity consciousness as a collective human race, it changes the access to the information that we have, because the vibrational frequency of the planet is also elevating, it's changing. And but that being said, we are all the humans that are evolving and have always been evolving, have always been pioneers of the remembrance of the innate gifts and the innate tools that the human has, their multidimensional abilities. So our ability to love, to understand love, there's very few humans on the planet that know what love is, that feel love. There's very few humans that are very familiar with peace, with really understanding the embodiment of harmony. So I think that's something that, as every single human is kind of learning how to embody that. What does that look like? How does that look like in my relationship? How does that look like in my career? How does that look like in everyday life? And this is something that every day, why a lot of people feel alone and disconnected, is because they feel they can't connect or even share these deep feelings of realization that they meet in meditation when they're working with themselves. So, there's two things that are happening. We are remembering who we are innately, but at the same time, it's an entire reprogramming. And it's literally an epigenetic reprogramming, because we are learning how to work with our environment and override the external stimulus to a program that is more conducive for healing mind, body, and soul. So I think that's something that we're all kind of forming ourselves. We are creating ourselves. And essentially, the foundation and the core of being human is to be a creator, to create yourself in whatever way. And really, this is where the law of free will comes in. The human has free will to experience any kind of life. You can even choose to experience an extremely suffering life, completely based on your free will. And you also have the ability to live a life of peace and harmony. So, there's a couple of elements there that are very important to this.
Maybe I missed this, but are we not born with it and then lose it as society starts to present its norms to us? Because
Yeah,
children are so connected.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, but it's not so much that we're losing anything, because those abilities are there with us at all time. It's just like a muscle that isn't exercised, it becomes weak and thin and frail. So the human that works on the muscle of their intuition, the muscle of heart, of loving, of coherence, of compassion, those are things that are developed, and they change many parts of ourselves, not just in the emotional body. So I think it's just a matter of Okay, but that being said, because we were innately that as children, we haven't exercised that as adult humans living in the life. We haven't applied that innate part of us as a part of our life. So as adults, we're kind of integrating, and it's really beautiful because we do come back to a childlike state of innocence when we develop this ability to love, to have compassion. But that is shared with powerful self-knowing, self-trust, incredible boundaries that we maintain. So we're learning how to navigate this world with this childlike state, with this connection to this divine part of ourselves.
Okay, so for a lot of people who don't understand, because we'll always get people who are new to this, and they'll say, "Well, how did I lose it? This is something that I want." What happens from that childhood? It's usually around 7 to 12 years old where kids start to lose that spiritual connection. What happens between then that
Um,
causes them to fade away?
yeah. Well, based on my work, I don't see that the children necessarily lose the connection at the age of 7. However, what does happen at the age of 7 is that they are deeply programmed. They are deeply programmed, and it's solidified deep concepts from the womb until the age of 7. Our 7 chakras are fully coming into full development. And the 7 chakras are basically the fields of our perception. Based on what chakra we have more enlarged or shrunken or paralyzed or torn, our perception changes about the experiences, the external experiences that we have. When the child experiences a lot of trauma, social conditioning, as you mentioned, learning from the mother and father, the child begins to solidify, because what happens is that we repeat emotions. We learn, that's how we learn, through repetition. So through the demonstration of emotional behavior of mother and father, or lack thereof, we begin to learn and reinforce the neural pathways of that programming. And subconsciously, that begins to become a program. And programs are profound. It's a construct of belief, essentially. That's actually the more proper way to say it. It becomes a construct of belief. And these belief systems begin to form into defense mechanisms like personalities. Now, personalities are just like wearing masks, really. We change and we form like chameleons based on our survival and what is needed from our external. And some people with more trauma, that's why they have such disrupted energy systems. That's why they usually go towards drugs or alcohol or any kind of addiction, because being in the physical body becomes literally painful. It becomes so distorted and difficult to manage the overwhelming amount of emotions that haven't been integrated, that they just want to check out. So usually until then, after puberty is the key, because when the child hits puberty, that's when the hormonal system comes in. The sexual life force, which is one of our most powerful creative life forces, overruns the brain, and we are stimulated and manipulated through music and films, to manipulate those energies. So the child becomes super confused. So the memory of that innate child that was deeply connected to their feelings, to their emotions, to the sensation body, to intuition, becomes completely distorted away from that. It becomes distorted, disconnected, essentially. And on top of it, when we have families and concepts, cultural concepts of don't share your emotion, or don't show emotion, or that's not good for you to feel that way, we come into major cognitive dissonance with ourselves. So this is essentially what happens. So as you can see, by the time we're leaving high school or even college, we're deeply disconnected, and we don't have programs that help develop those emotional aspects of ourselves.
Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You will continue on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue the conversation. Should we encourage our kids about their own spirituality? When we return on the mighty SOR, GeraldineOrozco.com is Geraldine's website. We'll be right back, everybody. Cool. First start. Good job.
Thanks, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Man, oh, man.
So great to see you. And also, beautiful art piece that's being created here. I'm trying to see what is that.
Dirty
So
filth there.
beautiful.
He's creating one for his cat Blob.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah, Dirty Filth's hands are just magical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Hi there, Country Carpenter. Hopefully Blob comes to inspect this.
Yeah, that's going to be so fun. I hope he does too.
I'm not sure where Blob is, to be honest, Dave.
Well,
I think she was
Blob-
on top of the heat register.
Blob is probably signing autographs somewhere.
It's just got a paw print and a stamp.
It's so funny.
Well, that's not good.
What'd you do?
I don't know. The whole thing fell apart.
Well, that's not good.
All these watercolor markers are about 10,000 years old anyway, so. There we go.
Watercolor markers. Oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't know they were watercolor markers.
They just fill it with watercolor and then dip it
Yeah.
in water, and there you go.
That's so cool.
He's cheating tonight is what he's doing.
I actually
Cheat,
just
that's
got
right.
some of those. Those are cool.
Until I can get some extremely fine pointed pen or brushes, then I'm stuck with this stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to find those.
Well, they're like $10 million, and
Also, yeah.
Space Brog Blob. This is the original Space Brog picture
Oh,
with all the cats.
that. Are these your actual cats?
Yes.
Oh.
I've got a gray cat and Blob and Whiskey and Gremlin. He's orange, so that's why it looks like he's got brain damage.
So cute. I love that.
I've even got little backstories written about him and everything. Excuse me.
A picture book would be fun with all of these guys.
Actually, I should have mentioned this. People asked previously. My calendar is complete. If you go to Etsy.com, just type in filthy, FYLTHY. It'll be in there. It's the only thing that comes up as a calendar.
Oh, that's so cool.
I forgot to mention it
There
last
you go.
night.
Yeah.
And it always happens every time. I put a calendar or a book out, and then I buy it the second it's published. And then somebody else buys it like 2 days later, and then they message me after that. Oh, hey, Filthy, I got my book or calendar today. I'm like, how did you get it when I bought it the second it was printed? But I live in Canada, so I forget the shipping is, it's got to go through customs and junk on top of everything else. So
Okay, cool. I'm going to go get one of those calendars.
it printed in like New Jersey or something like that.
Very cool.
So it goes to Mississauga and then across Canada all the way to my castle with a moat that I live in. There's alligators in it.
Wow. Is that true?
I wish. They freeze over in the wintertime, so unfortunately I don't have any alligators in my moat.
Weather update for you, Geraldine. We've already had snow.
I saw your posts.
Uh-huh.
And I think the day that you posted the first one, I think I was at the beach, but it was cold and I was laughing. I was like, Dave is going to laugh so hard.
Yeah, you were probably wearing a winter parka there.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Yeah. In the meantime,
Oh my
I'm in a
God.
hoodie in the snowstorm.
So funny. I know. And I think someone was wearing shorts. Like, was someone wearing shorts in the snow?
course.
Oh
Of
my
course.
God,
Shorts and a Slurpee.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you
that's
need.
hilarious.
Minus 30 Celsius out, and I'm still drinking a Slurpee. Absolutely. Hold on right there, guys, because we're going to come right back. Thank you to Simon with a hat trick, Cosmic Joe, and T-Bone for the super chats. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio with Geraldine Orozco is underway. My name is Dave Scott. We are bringing the Zen and Chi to your spirituality tonight. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our archives for free. Why are they free? Because I want them that way. I'm stubborn. I'm very stubborn when it comes to you're getting those archives for free, mister, and you're going to enjoy it. That's the way I do things around here. You can also check them out on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. GeraldineOrozco.com is Geraldine's website. This is the spiritual you as we are hanging on out. And right before the break, Geraldine, we were talking about children when they lose their natural intuition and spirituality because society kind of projects that on them. For a lot of parents these days, we see a lot of parents really maybe push their kids into their spirituality. They push for that contact. They push for who are your angels? Who are these beings that you're talking to? They're pushing their kids for any type of connection because they, you know what, there's something that is kind of awesome about your kid all of a sudden talking to Bigfoot or your kid having contact with an extraterrestrial being or a great grandmother that died 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Are we pushing the kids too hard on this?
No, I think, I'm not sure. I hope it's not terribly bad that people are pushing. My initial thought is I think it's really important to cultivate and teach the foundations in order to enhance our tools. But I do think it's important to respect also the free will of our child and let the child organically develop that. As we know, as we have grown up in our families, if they are terribly religious or terribly spiritual, sometimes it pulls us really far away from those things in order to preserve our own sovereignty and belief system. And sometimes we can cause more harm when we interfere in the spiritual development of some people. So it's also important to respect that. I think what parents can focus on is cultivating as an example deep integrity, profound authenticity, and demonstrate the trust as adults that we have with our intuition and our actions. So our actions, our words are matching our actions, our intentions are matching. That is so important. And very few parents are able to demonstrate that because of the nature of our world, unfortunately. And that's an excuse because truly we should be holding ourselves accountable for that in demonstrating that level of integrity and respect towards ourselves. And I think that goes a long way with a lot of the parents that I work with right now. And I'm increasing my work with children because it is so needed. What I see parents do is they do a lot of their own spiritual shadow work healing and then change the way that they interact with their children, their connection, their communication. And that is where I see the children flourishing and just having their own experiences, not being afraid to share that, but also understanding boundaries of themselves and other people. Another thing that I noticed is that children that are really open sometimes go to school and then they're met with like resistance from classmates or teachers and things like that. So again, it's something that we have to be mindful of. Every human has a free will, and spiritual evolution is very much a very personal thing. And I think what we're really talking about is two things: our internal spiritual work, the shadow work, the emotional trauma work. That is the foundation. And I think that's actually the foundation of spirituality. The other stuff, such as ET contact, angelic beings, our intuitive, navigations and discoveries, I think that's kind of a natural part that is a result of a developed spiritual foundation. So I think we need to remember, like, we need to have the foundation set first, because the mechanics of how we function. And here's why. If we start pushing for intuition, but we have a lot of unresolved trauma, the kind of experiences we're going to have are going to be a frequency match to that. And some people become very traumatized. Some people are innately super intuitive, and then they start pushing themselves into having those experiences, and that's it. They become traumatized, and what happens? They close themselves off. And it can take years to recover that trust again, to recover the mastery of your ability again. So it's something you have to be very cautious. The foundation will create an undeniable, unshakable, deep self-trust. And I think that's the key for like all dimensional navigation.
What would an alien want with a child? I can understand a ghost. Okay, totally. Maybe it's a grandparent who had never met the grandchild before. Maybe on the other side they did, but not on this side. Or maybe it's an uncle or an aunt or a mom or a dad who passed away, whatever it may be. I can understand that. But what would an ET want with an innocent child?
Well, there's a couple layers to this. First of all, we are constantly surrounded by beings, constantly. What we know as entities, what we know as, we are constantly surrounded. Right now, there's a being like right here, okay, standing right here in my room. And I'm sure, all of us, we all are surrounded by beings and entities because we are multidimensional organisms. So the real question is, what are we tuning into, and what frequency, and what are the filters of perception that allow us to navigate with that? Obviously, children that are seeing grandmas and ETs have extremely heightened intuition. And what that means is that grandma is there all along. Of course, we know the essence of these beings are deeply interconnected to us because it's in our DNA. Experiences are holographic projections of DNA. Just in the same way, our everyday life is a holographic projection of what we encode epigenetically into our DNA, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and physically. Interdimensional contact is a holographic projection of the subconscious mind, which is deeply coded in the DNA. So a lot of the ETs that we are interacting with are literally in our genes. And we've had many, remember that time is not linear, it's like simultaneous. So we're kind of interacting in our dream state, just like the child is interacting in their dream state with these alternate simultaneous timelines that they are interacting with these beings. So to have that kind of development, and remember that the child is a child here, but it also has different manifestations in other dimensions in which it might be meeting these beings. A lot of children that I work with, they are recovering memories of themselves being Greys or Pleiadians in their dream state. So when they interact with the beings, they begin to realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm also one of them. And I keep coming back to this planet and keep having this timeline of experience. It's a reoccurring dream. It's a continuous dream, actually, throughout my life, where I am this Grey playing out this life in this dimension. So so we're evolving and learning through our dream state alternate lives, which we call past and future lives. But in reality, it's all simultaneous. And we have access to these dream realms through the subconscious mind based on our vibrational frequency. The more we clean up trauma, the higher the octave of these experiences and encounters become. So I think the important thing is for the child to get very familiar, and we have to help them identify, um, energetic hygiene, how to clear their energy, how to become lucid in dream state so that they can apply their free will. And that when they are encountering the ET, they can discern whether the engagement is something that they are learning and growing from, evolving from, or when they can begin to choose if they want to change what their participation is. It's the same thing for us as adults. We also are doing the same thing. We are learning, whether you're in a hybridization program, whether you're in these kinds of military kind of experiences or, abductions, we are shifting our contracts. So I think contact of any kind, whether it's with the dead, which is a dimension that is usually within the 7th and 8th dimensional plane, which is the DNA of the earth, which is the Akashic records of the earth. That's where ghosts exist, because those are interdimensions in which archetypes have been latched on to the physical dimension. The soul of that being is already existing in other timelines, but a memory of that has been kept and preserved also through us, through the energy and life that we give it. So that is trapped in the space, and it's within us all along. We all have the capability of being mediums. We all have that ability based on our frequency. So to answer the question, I think we need to train lucidity and discernment to get clear about the participation of the child, and invite the child to become curious, not fearful of the experience, in order for them to apply free will. And if they feel that it's not an engagement they want, that they can begin to shift that. That's very important, I think.
Usually with aliens, though, it's kind of hard to shift it. They just seem.
Is it? I think in some cases it is, Dave, but what I see time and time again is that the laws of alchemy based on the universal physics is the same in terms of how our free will, essentially, and our emotion becomes a resonance that unites us with different realms of beings. I see it over and over and over and over again through the years working with so many people. When people start cleaning up their deep traumas, their experiences change. So actually, we do have a lot of power in how we are, experiencing these things. Many times in my experiences, I have interrupted whatever was happening if I wasn't in alignment with it. And what happens is that either my perception changes and it broadens my perspective of what's actually happening. And then I begin to realize, oh, this really wasn't actually scary. It was something else that I didn't understand. I think that's one of the biggest things, that we as humans, we have such strong filters of perception, and they're extremely limited. We don't even understand our own human race and what we do. Much less will we understand these interdimensional experiences. So lucidity and intuition will be accessing libraries of information through the Akashic records that are available to the human at any time. Every human has access to infinite information. Through the cultivation of our intuition, we can access that information. And the more clean and clear and neutral we become emotionally, the more clear we can access that information.
Okay. Is that all just a spiritual connection, or is, and we're talking alien contact here, is that a spiritual connection, or is that a genetic connection that they are looking for?
Yeah, so I would say it's one and the same. There is no separation, because in these higher timelines, spirituality is science Okay, because and this is going to merge for our human race as well. This has got to merge. That's how it was back in the day, and it's how it has to be again, the merging of spirituality and science. But essentially, you see, our existence is spiritual. You know, psyche, it literally means soul, right? It's our psychic abilities, it's the abilities of the soul. So we are learning how to navigate interdimensionally. We are mastering that. And we don't really realize how much power we have in the encounters that we have with these beings. These beings are interested in connecting with us because we might have worked with them many lifetimes, not just one. And we'll see this in family lineages. An entire family lineage, like the Hopi Indians. I mean, I can name many different kinds around the world where, and even looking at the pyramids and the greatest architectural structures, ancient history, aligning with Sirius, for example, that tells us a lot about our history. We know about that. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now. But the alignment of that is we have embedded the history of the stars in our DNA. So the experiences that we're having is just the awakening, the activation of dormant DNA of who we really are, which is our holographic DNA. The holographic DNA is the rest of the percentage of DNA that's not writing the physical vessel, but is actually creating alternate timelines in which we navigate during dream state. Our dream state navigations are the navigations of our alternate dimensions, which exist in our body, and we access through the holographic system of DNA. So I think the beings that are interacting with us, they have much farther understanding of some of these things. Within a certain dimensional range, the dimension from which the beings come from dictates everything. It dictates their intention. It dictates their interest. The more terrestrial and more lower frequency these beings are from, the more they're interested in survival patterns. So they would be interested in genetics, like for the hybridization program, in order to create sustainability. The higher you go in octave of beings, the less they are interested in interference, but rather in the transference of information. But for all of these programs, we need to have discernment, because it's not necessary for humans to have all this information at once. It distracts the human from the purpose of their incarnation to begin with, which is the profound cultivation of creativity, and then draw that creative conduit into these interactions and masterfully navigate those interdimensional experiences in a way that is conducive and reciprocal. Because a lot of what happens is that when humans are dormant and they don't understand what they're doing or why, it becomes parasitic very quickly, and the human gets traumatized by that. So that trauma can be avoided by training discernment, essentially. And we get to choose our participation. Okay, but the human has to be able to bend the mind of the limited perception in order to truly understand what is the participation. In some cases, the hybridization program is so profound, it is the anchoring of high levels of consciousness into the timeline of humanity. In other cases, it can be parasitic, but if the human works on themselves, they can affect these children through the DNA. So there is no victims, that the human has to wake up consciousness in order to be able to affect that. So it's, I kind of see it like this.
Okay, so we got 5 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continues on this show tonight, as she is a monthly contributor to the mighty SOR. We're talking about children and spirituality here, and finding themselves and finding their own path. Even though they're children and we as parents, we hold their hands for everything. Okay, up even when they hit 18 to 25, we're still holding their hands. Is this spiritual journey something that needs a parent to guide them, whether it's with ET contact, whether it's their own spirit guides or their connection to the ether or whatever it may be. Should we be guiding them on this? Or
Yeah.
is this a journey that their own little soul, their own little life has to figure out on their own through maturity, through growth?
Yeah, I think it's important to share the foundations because for us as children, we didn't have the demonstration of those foundations. We didn't understand the laws of the universe. We didn't understand, what are our emotions. We didn't understand that we have free will. Those powerfully strong foundations are things that should be taught to our children because that's not necessarily things that are going to be taught in schools or in any, it's even hard to find that information even for us, and it takes a lot of years and research and inner work. The child should develop their spirituality on their own, absolutely. But there are those foundational parts that we can help support. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that when we become an example, that is the best way to teach the child the free will. It is the best way to teach the child our relationship with spirituality being, a very grounded, integrated, constant practice of self-realization, self-observation, cultivation of the 0 point, practicing and giving an example of discernment to the child. Those are things that the child needs to see demonstrated, must see demonstrated, because it will not find that. Films and shows, like the worst are series because they are psychologically embedding entire constructs, psychological constructs, incrementally into the child. At the end of the series, the child doesn't know who they are, what's real, what's not real. And that's a severe abuse to the psyche of the child. The more we help the child connect with nature, the more we take them into nature, help them commune with nature, this is where the child also learns. Nature is the most powerful teacher. And the child is learning through watching and observing and feeling nature through their bodies. So, I think giving permission is something really important to the child. Letting the child know that they have permission to feel, to sense, to be curious, to ask questions. I think that a lot of, when I think back at all these sessions with clients, what is the one thing? It's like they never felt like they had permission to love or to express themselves or to be free or to imagine things. So we need to teach the child that they have that permission to explore and understand these cause and effect. We might fall, we might hurt ourselves, we have to get up. Even in the spiritual evolution, that is something that's true. Again, these cyclical patterns that we see in nature. And then from there, let the child discover on their own. Give them the foundations, meditation, right? Internal dialogue, internal connection, to build their own connection with the divine. How powerful would our human race be if that was the kind of focus that we had towards our children?
Well, we got about 45 seconds to go here, and I think that our children, obviously, we need to learn them, but we also need to learn ourselves as well, because we
Yeah,
also, Geraldine, in a short answer here, we have to be careful what we're teaching children, because most people who see their children going through these experiences don't have the experience or the knowledge themselves.
exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm saying that experience is, we have to be the example. And that's where all the work is. Definitely.
Well, on that note, I think we're probably good for a break here. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You is a show that we do each and every month here on Spaced Out Radio near the beginning of each month. Geraldine has been with us, I think about 7 years now. 7 years. Hard to believe. And you know what? I've gone gray-haired since this happened. She is still, if you saw her pictures, she's got this beautiful, dark, lovely locks. And then there's me, who looks like Santa Claus. Oh. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. We will continue with this right after. Come back to the break. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. And we got about a 6-minute break here. We're going to turn things over to Dirty Filth because I know you're enjoying his beautiful art. There you go, Dirty.
There I am, Dave. So there's the completion of Space Prog Blob, everybody. I also took the time to dig up the first ever contact with Space Progs. Let's see here. There we are. This was the first ever encounter with a Space Prog. Got the space guy there. There's Blob. First contact. Houston, we need snacks. Repeat, we need snacks. Anyways, say hi to everybody. Thanks for coming out. It was like when Geraldine was on the show. It's the calming effect show. But yes, if you missed it last break, if you go to etsy.com and type in filthy, Fylthy, you can scoop a copy of my calendar if you like. And I'll probably end up putting up some original artwork on there as well. If you ever want to have some of that hanging on your wall or use it for a coaster, whatever works. Oh, and also, this is a classic one as well. This is Whiskey and Blob getting cut off from the milk. All pickled up. Both of them just drank a pile of milk. They should have spent their money on the arcade machine. It's way better. All dog face. My second book is just in publishing mode and everything. So my third book, I'll make sure to draw some more naked brown dwarfs. Just for you. Well, I don't have it handy, but I have another pile of comics with the Sprogs. But let's go back to today's drawing with Blob, who I can confirm Blob is laying on the couch downstairs. It's gonna be snack time pretty quick here for the cats. Very important to keep them full of cat snacks. Thanks, Dogface. I appreciate it. Well, Kira, maybe I'll have to get you in on one of the cartoons one day. I kind of chuckled because someone was talking about, I was just shooting the breeze, my friend, and we're talking about drawing characters and stuff. And I realized it's mostly animals and aliens and Bigfoots and junk. And then I kind of chuckled because I remembered Ace Ventura movie. He's like, oh, I don't do humans. But yeah, I thought about it. I haven't really drawn very many human characters for a while. I guess the other night I drew some humans, but that doesn't really count. Oh, there's a gargoyle. I used to have some of those Time Life Mysteries of the Unknown books. Or something similar. There was another set. It's silver writing and black background. It's all like curious and unusual tales and things like that. Way better reading than, Big Red Dogs or Magical School Buses. Oh, I found this one. There's the goblin and the Sprog. He's like, hey, this is my new friend. He's a space alien. Sasquatch telling him, dude, That's an orange cat in a spacesuit. But, you know. Yeah, you're right, Hillbilly Herb. Those are the ones. There's a whole bunch of them. They're really neat. Had ghosts and stuff in them too. Lots of pictures, and it's kind of the first time I've seen UFOs and everything. So I should go dig them out, probably somewhere. Right, Dave? All those old Time Life books about aliens and junk.
It happens. It happens.
Look, Dave, it's Blob.
There we go. There we go. We gotta love Blob.
She's on the back of the couch, and I'm gonna go deliver cat snacks now. Okay, have a good night, Dave.
Dirty Filth, you are the best. Thank you, buddy.
So long, everyone.
We love you, buddy. Dirty Filth, everybody. We love them. We love them around here. Thank you to Simon with a hat trick, Joe and T-Bone with the great super chats. We very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. We're going to get some audience questions coming up here momentarily. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you go check it out. You can get your new ULP t-shirts, Unidentified Lighting Phenomena, coming up. Here comes the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate you listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Regression. Regression is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Here we go, hour 2 with Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. It's a segment we do each and every month on this show with Geraldine. Her website, geraldineorozco.com, if you wanted to book an appointment or you just wanted to find out more information on how to find your Zen and Chi and maybe some aliens sprinkled in for dessert. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hey, thank you so much. I literally just got Dirty Phil's book. It's so cute.
Isn't it?
It's so cute. Yeah, he's so great. I'm
It is
excited
fantastic.
about that.
Don't let him know that, though, because then he'll start, spamming your mailbox with art.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. That's great.
Oh, it's wonderful. Every now and again, I will get a surprise package in the mail. So for people who don't know, and radio
kidding.
Dirty Filth is our cartoonist here. If you go to our YouTube channel and check out our show, you'll actually a lot of times see him draw cartoons of all the weird, strange things that we talk about on this show. And he is incredibly talented. And you can go to Amazon and just type in, well, you can't type in Dirty Filth. That's his nickname, Klaus Meidner. And you're able to get his book there on Amazon. It's fantastic. So thank you for the plug there for Filthy. He's amazing.
Gotta plug him. Yes.
Getting back to our conversation before we get to some audience questions here about children finding their spirituality and their own contact. Is there a level that we need to be aware of, though? Because for a lot of children, they get nightmares. If they see aliens or Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever, or ghosts, they get nightmares very, very easily. And how do we deal with what is just a nightmare and what could be possible contact from something ethereal?
To be honest, there's no difference, Dave, because Nightmares? Well, we would have to define what nightmares mean, and that's a very difficult thing to define because the realm of psychology and interdimensionality has not been defined really yet. We're still defining that right now, okay? However, the more disconnected we are from our emotions, the more abstract and strange and convoluted our dreams are going to be. The more we cultivate lucidity in the waking state, the more clear the dreams are going to be, the more real life they're going to become. So where do you see the fine line, right? So what happens is that a lot of people that are super intuitive, and this actually goes down the Rh negative bloodline, they recover their memories better than any other blood type. They can very clearly remember their contact, and they have very strong intuitive abilities and faculties. So that's easy for them. So another part that I want to mention, the contact that the child is having, even if it's a nightmare to the child at that time, the child has agreements with those beings that transcend our role as a parent. And that's something that we have to hold space for. How do we hold space for that? Is by teaching them about fear and how to manage their fear, how to manage their emotions when they have these kinds of spectacular experiences. It's really important because what can happen if we don't teach the child about emotions is that they can be driven by these abstract experiences, and they can block themselves fully from their abilities, and that completely dictates their entire life, goes down a road of disconnect and escape. The life becomes a focus of escape. So I think the job of us as parents is to gently, lovingly guide them into creating deep self-trust, so that even when they're in the face of a draconian or a reptilian or one of these strange beings or some parasitic interaction, that they have the ability of holding their space. Here's another reason why. For a lot of these beings, they feed off the fear of these parasitic encounters. When they are truly parasitic beings, the whole intent of the experience is to create scenarios of deep terror for the person, because they feed off of that. The entire field becomes a super dense substance energetically that these beings they thrive off of that. And if we truly understand that, we understand to shift that. We don't match that frequency. They don't want you in their space if you are not at their frequency. In the same way that really high dimensional beings, if you're full of fear, they remove that out of you right away. How many times have we heard experiencer after experiencer having contact, being on board a craft, terrified to death? Next thing you know, there's a word or something that triggers them that all of a sudden they feel totally fine. The emotions are removed from them, because emotions, it's energy. It pollutes the energetic space. Literally, it changes the construct of the environment. And not only are the craft, but these beings are operating at a very specific vibrational frequency. This is why I'm saying that the dimension from which these beings come from will dictate their agenda, their intention, and the kind of experience we're going to have, in the same way that when we master the navigation of the dimensions, we get to choose who we are interacting with more than other times. And usually when we encounter traumatic experiences, we have what we know as karma, which is simply cause and effect, meaning that we have engaged with these races. They are embedded in our DNA. We really do not interact with any interdimensional being that is not in our genetic structure, even if it's a super far, way back ancestor. Because of the nature of how DNA functions. DNA is a portal. The human body functions like a portal. Our chakra system is a portal. It's a holographic portal system that allows us to enter into different octaves of dimensional realms. So if we really understand the architecture of our reality, we begin to understand that the human has a lot of ability to manage how they are navigating these dimensional planes. And we have a lot more power. We have a lot more free will than we might think. But we just really need to integrate ourselves from all the fractals, the fractals that have been created of us through trauma. Remember also that as a child, when we have extremely traumatizing interdimensional contact, a lot of it has to do around sexual abuse. And oftentimes the child is already undergoing a lot of trauma in their current earth life, which will replicate in the interdimensional realm. In fact, children that are heavily traumatized in this world that don't have parents are usually the ones that are dragged into these parasitic programs, interdimensional parasitic programs. This is why we have child trafficking. This is why we have all of these deep entertainment, Hollywood realms of entertainment are run by these darker systems. These are darker energy systems. They invert human life force for the purpose of parasitism. So our unawareness of that, our disconnect from our bodies, will lead us into engaging in these parasitic interactions. So that's something that we have to gently teach the child through, number one, mastery of the emotions as best as we can model for them, to be extremely authentic, to sit with their emotions, to learn how to feel emotions fully, to gather the information for them to apply for discernment and then action. It's super important. This builds profound trust. And the psychological building of self-trust is the structure of a huge auric body, huge cultivated energy field, and incredible intuitive ability. So, there's many layers of ourselves, biologically, biochemically, psychologically, that we need to understand are affected by the cultivation of our intuition.
Okay. Have you ever studied the meaning of dreams before?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not an expert of any kind, but I delved very deeply into that since I was a child, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so this leads to my next question. What about people, and not just children, but people who have recurring dreams? It might be, and I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay, from the time I was 3 years old till the time I was 18, all I ever wanted to do was become a fighter pilot in the military. Took all my high school courses towards that, did everything I could learn about that field that I wanted to get into. And then during just after my 18th birthday, I started having recurring dreams of flying my plane. And in my hometown, there's a very large air show annually. And I'd be flying in that air show, and I would do this loop in my aircraft, but I couldn't pull out. And right before I'm about to hit the ground, my body would leave the airplane, and I would be watching my body from the fan zone, watching the plane crash and watching myself die. And I had that dream probably, I'm not going to say every night, but almost every night for about 2, 3 months. And when I went to the recruiting center to sign up to join the Canadian Armed Forces for trying to become a fighter pilot, that program had been shut down. Hiring for that part of the program had been shut down due to budget cuts. And by the time they reopened it a few years later, I already had blown out my knee and had pins in my knee, which means I couldn't do it. And I always, like, that sent me in a real depressive spot because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I had planned out my life since I was 3 years old. And yet here I was going to be, a fighter pilot. And now that dream is over. And I was always wondering whether or not that dream was a was a vision that was not what I was supposed to do, or if it meant something else that I haven't translated yet. Now at 51, a handsome 51 at that, I am now still to this day trying to figure out what that meant.
Amazing. Yes, there are countless. Actually, I'll tell you this, the first time that I learned about dreams like this, like the ones that you're talking about, was in the book Many Lives, Many Masters. I was obsessed with past life and, past life recoveries and the stories of that when I was a child. I mean, I was 8 years old and I was reading this book. And they talked about a very similar case where the child was having this consecutive dream of like being in there, like throughout the child, they had an entire other life. And when they regressed the child, it turns out they had many lives in that role. So this is why my understanding of the dream state, and not only that, but when I see the realms, when I'm working with people or when I'm tuning in, what it looks like is spheres of information and time being spherical that we are accessing simultaneously from now. So as a child, you were accessing this alternate simultaneous lifetime and you're recovering the memories and the experiences of that. And you can apply those lessons for your life. There are some profound lessons there about self-worth, about all kinds of things, all kinds, like as an example, there's all kinds of like lessons that are available to us. I think our dreams become, as the people that cultivate high levels of intuition, high levels of deep self-connection, dreams become the communication into the other realms. And our dream state is us navigating and exploring the realms of our subconscious mind, which means essentially ourselves entering into other dimensions. We are constantly traveling to other dimensional lives. And again, I don't feel that the timelines are of a past or a future. I think they are all accessible to the human. I think this is why hypnotherapy works for us. There's also overlays of meaning that are very important to us that we have to understand, that help us understand through our astrological sign, and also our archetype. Because a lot of the storylines that we're trying to overcome in this lifetime, they are consecutive or repeats of other previous or simultaneous, I should say, lifetimes that we're also evolving through collective lessons. Our aspects of ourselves are collectively experiencing simultaneous lives that mirror a similar lesson. So I think that the human, like the more it becomes conscious and awake, it can recognize the patterns of those lessons, the contractual agreements, the karmic lessons that we're repeating again, our limitations, our belief systems that are limiting our soul evolution are shown to us in our dream state by the things that happen to us in the dream state. And I think that, the more we become in tune with our intuition, the more we can recognize these symbols that are deeply important for us. Dream books are really interesting. I've loved them. I've had tons of them in my lifetime. But I think that the most important is for the human to develop the meaning of the symbols of their life through their life experiences and through their dream states. As I mentioned before, the more disconnected we are, the more convoluted and difficult to understand the dreams are going to be. The more we refine, the more clear they become, the more lifelike they become. And that's where ET contact is also taking place.
Okay, so with those dreams that are recurring, and we'll mention this as we got about 5 minutes to go here before we go to break. With those dreams that are recurring, are they normally lucid dreams? Could they be considered lucid, or would they be considered just figments of the mind creating a scenario?
I mean, we create everything, right? We create everything. So how we're creating things depends on the mastery of our own emotional body, how we master our emotional body. The more we're embedded in our emotions and don't have control over the emotions, the less control and the less lucidity we have in a dream state. So the more that we learn to control our emotions and enter as much 0 point as possible, the most neutral state of observation that we begin to cultivate in ourselves, in our daily lives, this will translate into our dream state. And so from there, any kind of realm that we enter into, we are willingly entering, we are aware of what we're doing there, and we explore and navigate those dimensional realms, understanding our level of free will. So, emotions do play a role. And again, the emotional part will play a role when you don't have any mastery over your emotions. So I think that plays a role, because emotions equal vibrational frequency. That's huge, right? Because if your vibrational frequency is in a constant state of fear, that's exactly what you're going to be manifesting in your dream state. So let's clarify lucidity. What does lucidity mean? Lucidity means that you become conscious that you're dreaming. And to become conscious of a dream is just like becoming conscious that, you forgot about yourself the past 10 minutes. You dozed off. You were just totally enraveled in whatever is being shown to you externally, but you forgot about your body. So to cultivate lucidity, we have to train ourselves to constantly come back into the body, to remember ourselves, as Gurdjieff said, remember yourself, in order to begin to hold space for yourself 360 degrees. Your entire body is completely aware of itself, and you're in the present moment. That translates into dream state. And what happens is, and I teach this a lot to train lucidity, you wake up consciousness in your dream state and you realize, hey, this is a dream. Okay, so next step, the reason why you become lucid in dream state is so that you can have choice. It's about discernment, and it's about the application of free will. Same thing, the same as that movie Inception, the same as the movie Matrix. Those concepts of waking up realization inside of a construct, understanding what is a construct and the rules of that construct. We're kind of doing the same thing in our dream states, and we're doing the same thing in waking state. So from that perspective, the human is able to apply their free will and choose how they want to interact and engage in those experiences.
We got 90 seconds left. Let's see if we could get some questions in here from our audience. We'll take a quick one here. We'll start off with Sierra. How can you deal with negative, intrusive, disempowering thoughts? I know they are not my essence. These come from a denser place.
So, first of all, there's a pattern of belief system that is feeding all of these negative, intrusive, disempowering thoughts. So the belief system is, ultimately, it distills down to, I do not trust myself. Because essentially, whatever dangerous or unknown experience presents itself, we feel that we will not have the tools to be able to survive or to handle suffering or pain or even death that might incur in those difficult situations, those unknown potential situations. To alchemize this, we have to go to the root, and we have to train to trust ourselves. And that trust is developed by understanding that you are not this body, that even in death, the physical body may dissolve, but your essence is infinite. That understanding will help you transcend and learn to control emotions in the body, pain in the body, alchemize poison in the body, alchemize coming back from the dead, as many people have. They come back from the dead because they remember their purpose, they remember who they are, and bam, they're back inside. Okay, so this is the kind of, we have to transcend the limiting beliefs that we have around our potential. And we have to remember that
Geraldine Orozco takes your questions till the top of the hour.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host,
Dave Scott. One second here. All right. This has been a great show, Geraldine. Great show.
Amazing questions, Dave. Amazing topic. So
Amazing.
important. Yeah.
You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. You are. Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I am pumped up. Pumped up. Happy, happy, happy. Dave is happy.
How's the kiddo?
He's good. He's very involved in hockey right now.
Ooh, nice.
He's having fun, and it's weird because last year he was one of the bigger kids on the team, and this year he's one of the smaller.
Oh my gosh. Oh, he'll catch up real soon, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But
what grade is he in?
Pardon me?
What grade is he in?
He's a grade 6.
Okay, grade 6. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's doing very well in school.
No, that's awesome.
I had a proud dad moment a couple of months ago. We were watching a movie, and all of a sudden I forget the actress who was on the screen or on my TV, and he looks over at me and he goes, "Dad, she is so hot." And I was like, I turned and I looked at him. I said, "What did you say?" He goes, "What?" I said, "What did you say about her?" "She is so hot, Dad." I said, "Come give me a hug. Come give me a hug." You know,
Wow. Who was this beautiful actress?
I forget who it was now. And it was a oh God. I think it was Megan Fox. No, it wasn't Megan Fox. We were watching Transformers, and it was the blonde Australian accented lady who took over from Megan Fox in the
Oh,
Transformers.
no idea. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm sure she's gorgeous. Well, it's a good
Yeah.
time. Sounds like you got a lot of work on your hands there, mister.
Oh,
Gotta do
yes.
some things there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
The
Yeah.
time has begun.
Well, he is it was weird to see that happen because he's very introverted
Yeah.
and he's very shy. So the fact that he opened up like that was kind of cool to all of a sudden have that brief moment.
Yeah.
Right.
I understand. Yeah.
You know. So
Oh, that's so wonderful.
mhm. That's right. Uh-huh. So that was kind of cool.
I'm probably going to start dating now in 6th grade. That's usually when kids start dating, no?
He's had a crush on a girl since he was like before kindergarten. They were in this preschool.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's funny because last year they were on the same hockey team too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And she's such a cutie as well. So
They have like little dances. Do they have
no, not
dances
yet.
now?
Not yet. That starts in high school here.
Okay. Yeah.
So big thank you tonight to Simon with a hat trick, T-Bone, Cosmic Joe for the great super chats. We're going to fit in as many questions as we can coming up here. And we are good. We are good. Here we go, everybody. In like, I don't know, like 7 seconds, I think. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We continue on with Geraldine Orozco until the top of the hour. My name is Dave Scott. Yep, I'm the weirdo who brings this weird thing called Spaced Out Radio to you each and every night. And I'm proud to be a weirdo, damn it. Very proud to be a weirdo. Want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on any major podcast network as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here comes Geraldine Orozco with the Spiritual You, her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. I highly suggest you check it on out. She is, in my opinion, the best when it comes to it. Geraldine, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dave. So much love. And thank you, everybody, for being here.
We're going to continue with audience questions. Let's go to Polly. What's the difference between a lucid dream, astral travel, and an abduction experience?
Frequency and brainwave patterns. Okay, so the higher the frequency, the brainwave frequency that you're creating, the higher the dimension which you can access. Lucid dream, as I mentioned before, and maybe you asked this question before that, but lucid dream is when we realize that we're dreaming. So, and that's something that we want to practice in our waking state, because this is also a form of dream, which is a construct. This is a construct, this holographic realm in which we're sharing. Me, you, Dave, all of you, Polly, all of us here are in a construct of a sort. And when we wake up consciousness again, the rules of the game change, because application of free will becomes available to you, and you can literally change timelines. So in the fact, and that's true for us in our reality, in our world, that's the same in dream state. So the focus of a lucid dream is for us to become conscious of the dream and again choose what we are experiencing. In the aspect of the experiences, we will experience astral travel, and we may experience in those astral travels. Astral travel is simply the navigation of the dimensional layers of what we are made of. So we are made up of all of the chakras bodies. The chakra bodies are the access points to the dimensional layers. In our dream state, when we leave the body, we enter and we navigate these dimensional layers through the chakra body. We astral travel through the chakra body. And I just want to mention the experiments done by the Air Force in order to test G-force on air pilots for many years. They discovered that by spinning them faster and faster and faster to the highest point of G point that they can handle, they would pass out. And they recorded, first they would faint, then they would astral project, and the next layer was death. And then they would have like near-death experiences. That is what they discovered through the tests of G-force. So we understand how we function is that we pass out, we lose consciousness. The next step is the way that the state that our brainwave is moving. We astral travel, so we see ourselves in dream states and even more. They're super realistic and lucid. And then next is death. So this is a fantastic proof that we are literally in a dream state as well, depending on how our rotation of the vortex of the body creates a vibrational frequency for us to travel. This can be manufactured. We can trigger the leaving and the entering of the body at will, because essentially we're navigating interdimensionally. Alien abduction experience, and I don't like to use the word abduction because I don't feel that we're really being abducted. I don't see that in my research. I feel that we are interacting with other dimensional species, which are our cousins. We are related literally genetically because it's through the genes that we interact with them. It's also our local universe, which is genetically related to our universe. And so the universe is how do I put this? The universe is the construct of the dimensions. Okay, so within the 13 main dimensional layers of our chakra bodies are all of the solar systems and cousins of our solar system and cousin species, which most humanity interacts with. And there's hundreds of species, of course, because there's universes are huge. But we are navigating in those dimensional planes. And usually it's within the 13 dimensional realms for the specifically abduction kind of experiences. Beyond that, you have higher dimensional beings like angelic beings, and then higher dimensional beings, which usually have less physical form, and so does the construct. So it's a different kind of experience. So that to say, these are kind of the differences between these realms and how we navigate them. I hope that answers the question.
Let's move on to necessary dialogue. Is there any meaning to flying in your dream? Like no airplane, just flying?
Yeah, there's a lot of meaning behind that in the psychological study of dreams. As an experiencer, I guess you can say I research people's experiences through hypnotherapy. What I have discovered is that a lot of people that have had dreams of flying as children were actually screen memories for actually interacting interdimensionally with being on craft or flying with these beings or being removed out of a room by these beings, which can feel like flying. These kinds of interactions where we feel we're moving interdimensionally are going to feel a lot like these dreams. These flying dreams. They're going to resemble flying. I had them so many times as a child, and every time that I had the dream, there was other phenomena that was connected with those kinds of dreams. So my question to you would be, how was the dream? What did you see? What happened before that? Did you have any missing time before that? Any missing time after? Did you ever see lights? Did you ever interact with some beings? Were you super interactive? What happened after you flew? Where did you go? What was that experience like? Take a look at those things. A lot of them are actual experiences in these interdimensional navigations.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Mike. What if after the event or solar flash, what if we lose all contact with spirit as we know it?
So we are spirit. We can never be separate from spirit at all, essentially. This non-physical construct is essentially is the reality. This physical realm is actually the construct. Okay, so the reality of what we are is the non-physical, and that can never be destroyed. It can never be touched. That's the law of physics. Energy can never disappear. It just reallocates. It transmutes. So we are the same. What happens when we die? The physical flesh is left in the construct, but the soul is infinite. And then what was the other part of his question? Did we answer all his question?
Yes, we did.
Okay, got it.
All right, let's go to Luna. My whole life, I dream a lot of events before they happen. Deja vu. Dreamt of eating sandwich near castle. Months later, brother invites me to Spain and we sit on a bench near the same castle. What's the explanation on this?
Explanation is that you have wonderful DNA, very activated DNA, and obviously many lifetimes of having profound lucidity and intuitive capabilities. So a lot of people that have had intuitive abilities many lifetimes are able to cultivate prophetic dreams in this lifetime. Prophetic dreams are very powerful, and it really speaks to the level of connection that you have. That has to be cultivated. So just like we have deja vus, okay, so now we have to merge them. We have to merge them in real time and essentially practice your intuitive vision in the waking state. So for you, it's kind of like the opposite. You're going to learn to become lucid in the waking state so that you can recover the lucidity that happens. And this, these kinds of pronostic dreams ahead of time in the waking state. So Luna, you're super intuitive. Please keep developing that. Document the dreams. That's why it's great to have a dream journal and train lucidity. I do teach a class on that. So train that. Amazing.
All right, let us continue on. Let's go to Polly. I was awakened when I was 7 years old with green numbers running in my head like a computer translating in a message. Do you know what those green numbers were?
No, no, definitely not. But yeah, were you born before the Matrix film or after? That's what I would love to know.
You know what? I was thinking that exact same thing.
You got it, Dave. Yeah. So, but regardless of that, I think it's interesting because I think that's like a metaphor and also very symbolic of the realization that we do exist in some sort of construct. So please use your intuition to connect. So here's a tool. When you have dreams that are very symbolic and very little in grasping information, revert to the way you felt. Okay, connect to the way you felt. In the feelings, it's everything. If it's this feeling of constriction, just develop those emotions, see what else comes up, and you will recover the memory. Remember, guys, memory is embedded in emotions. Okay, so through the emotional body, you can recover any number of memories, even the ones that you completely forgot as a child. Even those traumatic experiences can be recovered. It's the same in dream state. I've recovered many powerful dreams through my emotional body. Okay, so check that out. I would say that this is a very symbolic dream, and I would look at the other elements of the dream. Where were you? What was your role as you were seeing the numbers? What were you doing with them? How do they make you feel? What was happening? It's going to tell you about how you perceive reality. How are you translating the perception of reality? Thank you, Polly.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Anthony. I believe keeping records and categorizing details of all that happens and feels during each state before becoming unconscious. I think, and he goes, I believe I visited my partner's dream the night before. I explained what I can recollect about where I was. How often do you hear this?
Is that a question for you, Dave?
No, I think it's for you.
Okay. I hear this a lot, actually. I hear it a lot. And I think it's a parallel phenomena that occurs for contactees, that they have the ability to visit dreams. I have that ability. I've done it. And others do it to me, have tried to do it to me. There's a couple things about this that are very interesting. Number one, when you're not aware, you're going to gravitate to the person that, and there's many cases of contact experiences with several people grouped together on board a craft. And then they begin to recover the memories together. They have the dreams together. And then there's another element of, I'm just reading your question again because I want to make sure. You visited your partner's dream. So my question for you would be, was the construct of the dream a random place or was it on board a craft? Because you see, this is where we begin to notice that time is so different. It's very different in these dimensions. It's very spherical. Time, it doesn't make sense. So you may have already kind of agreed with this partner that you are going to have these kinds of experiences together, or you both called those experiences forth for you guys. Okay, so yeah, but to answer the question, yes, it happens a lot. I have a lot of clients that I work with that are constantly navigating other dream states. One thing I will mention, free will is extremely important. So for you, you and your partner are basically one. So you have a unified consciousness. It's known for this to happen. But when people start visiting other people's dreams that they're not really supposed to, that can be a very parasitic thing. And not only do you intrude on the other person's free will, but you also take on a lot of stuff on yourself. And it can be very draining energetically and psychically for you. So that's something that you should be careful. Energetic hygiene is super important. Make sure that when you're traveling, that you're very aware of your energetic field, you're grounded, and you're training your lucidity when you're doing this navigation. Thank you, Anthony.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to T-Bone. Many times I feel like I'm being slammed back into my body. Have you heard of this before?
100%. This is what happens when we experience out-of-body experiences or astral projection. Oftentimes when we're leaving the body and then we have a shift or a drop in our frequency, we will return back into the body rapidly. So some people hear like large pops or huge crashes or like loud sounds like an airplane or a helicopter sound, something like that, and then they are brought back into the physical body immediately. So this is about frequency management. It's about learning how to master your frequency, which is in the emotional body. So, and this is part of the thing I was telling Dave earlier about the concept of the child having this contact experience. Why do we want to master our emotions? Because you see, the child, the person can drop in frequency and they will no longer resonate in that dimension anymore. So they will drop to a lower dimension. So in this same case, we're not launching out of the body because we're afraid, and we have to train that. So one way of doing it is, and this is going to be funny, okay? You're going to practice rolling off your bed. So put pillows next to your bed and get used to the feeling of falling, okay? You're not going to fall off your bed at night. Please don't fall and hurt yourself, but allow yourself to get used to the feeling, the sensation of falling before you go to sleep. Okay. When you go to sleep, visualize grounding yourself, protecting yourself. And every time you're going to wake yourself up every few minutes before you go to sleep, as you're falling asleep, and tell yourself that you will be aware and awake in your experience. What will happen is that when you start leaving the body and you enter into some dream state, or right when you become aware and start coming back into the body, or you will actually be aware that you're leaving the body. And before you do come back into the body, you'll have a little bit more control over that. Okay. So, So practice lucidity and try not to be afraid. Understand, let yourself explore, be curious, allow yourself to feel the feeling of leaving the body, however that might be presented to yourself. And then, let yourself navigate.
Awesome. Let's go to Luna. Luna is asking, how do you explain blackout memory periods as a child, where for some odd reason you have no recollection of what happened to you during certain ages? What causes memory blackouts?
Yes, memory blackouts, there's a couple of reasons, but primary, the brain's intelligence of the holographic body wants to preserve the body. The body is not yet aligned to the frequency and the nature of the experience. And this can be in the waking state with like super abusive or violent family or something like this, that we block out literally years of our life when there was so much trauma in our life, and because our psychology was not prepared to integrate that into the physical yet. Okay, so again, all of these blackouts can be recovered only in my advice for the purpose of integration and healing. And if you decide to recover these memories, work deeply with your emotional body, creating a container of the 0 point where you train neutrality so that whatever event you might encounter in the recovered memories, you can hold space for yourself and process and integrate the trauma that may have occurred. We are broadening our range of judgment. That helps us to heal. And we also teach ourselves to put ourselves in the shoes of the other participants of these strong experiences. That helps us understand human nature, laws of cause and effect, and deep emotional trauma. And the more we begin to broaden the perspective, the more you can be freed from the limiting perception of victimization that holds deep, it's deep in the root of this covered memory. Okay, so we are basically retrieving aspects of ourselves from these blackout memories. And I believe it's very important to retrieve these aspects of ourselves, especially if you're on the journey of spiritual evolution and ascension. I think it's very important. Don't be afraid of them. Okay, so it's trauma in contact. I'll just talk about contact really briefly. The same thing happens. It's the exact same mechanism that takes place. The experience is too overwhelming or too strange that the body would go in overdrive biochemically and emotionally. So the brain blocks out the memories. This is also something that happens naturally when we enter into another dimension, by the way. When we enter into another dimension, the frequency and recording programs, conscious recording programs of the body will oftentimes, not be connected, because that's a muscle that we train through meditation and the training of our lucidity. And when you train that, you will remember. Okay. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
I think we got time for one more. We got 2.5 minutes, Geraldine.
Okay.
And let's go to Sierra here.
Yeah.
Can negative entities work through strangers around you to try and bring you down?
So basically, the emotional resonance, that the negative emotion that is in the other person is a match to yours. This is why we are interacting and magnetically attracted in local areas to these people that are mirroring this negative energy. The key is, so the answer is no, in a sense that entities are nothing more than the projection of our own subconscious belief systems. Okay. And to alchemize that, we have to shift our emotional. So our negative entities, our negative emotions in us have to be managed so that they are not reflected and triggered in another person. Because in other words, we would also be triggering their entities and their subconscious negative emotions. Okay. Always ground yourself. Always be aware of your bubble. Our auric field. Always seal your space. Always own your space. The only thing you control is what in your body, your emotions. You are the master of that. And when you're the master of that, nothing can touch you or hurt you. So that's something that we have to program deeply in the brain and allow ourselves emotionally to integrate that into our everyday lives.
All right. Maybe we can sneak in one more.
Okay.
Let's go to Polly here. My 9-year-old has sightings too and a deep understanding of this issue. How can I know if he's a hybrid?
He's a hybrid. Let me just answer that for you right now. So first of all, we are all hybrids. As I mentioned, we genetically have, because of the nature of this universe, we are related to all of these starseed lineages that make up our human race. You can check out the Book of Enoch. You can read some of the ancient texts of the stories of creation, which are many. But your child is a hybrid, and so are you, Polly. The experiences, your abilities, your awareness, even the fact that you're here on this station with the interest in this topic allows you to understand your multidimensional nature and curiosity. So we can hold space for the child by helping them trust themselves in that connection. Thank you guys so much.
GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. Thank you, Geraldine. Coming up next, we got the Swamp Dweller. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, Geraldine. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you so much. I
Much
had a
love.
blast, and thank you everybody for your questions. Love you. I'll see
Love
you.
you too, my dear. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yes. Bye.
All right. Take care. All right, guys. I'll be right back. Hi, love, love, love. Dry Toast, the best name on YouTube. How you doing? And we'll get caught up in a little bit. Sorry, I didn't get all the questions. We just ran out of time. I'll be right back. Hi, Christine Lynn. Super crazy. How you doing? There's Robin Haynes hanging on out. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. We got about a minute to go here. Robin, tonight, Swamp Dweller's about 5 minutes. So we'll bring you on right after that. Thank you, Polly. Paul Demon, how you doing? Fap, you're the kind of guy who eats breakfast for dinner. So, by the way, I banned that elephant guy from our channel. Who's saying some pretty salacious lies on comments on other shows. So I banned him. All right, here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Swamp Dweller and Robin Haynes coming up momentarily. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, regression. Regression is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's that time once again where we head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hello. Much love from RSA. South Africa is such a mystical place, so here's one tale of many. When I was 12 and in grade 6, I went to a camp for a school tour. Everything seemed normal if you're used to chilling in Victorian-era buildings. We all got split into groups of 4, so we would go to different dorms. I was with the bulk of the boys the first night and went and chilled as normal. However, everything started around 2 a.m. that night. As boys typically do, we sat trying to figure out a way to sneak out and head for the girls' dorm. After we managed to get past the first counselor, we started sneaking through the shadows. That's when Carl and Tevin stopped suddenly. I asked them what was wrong, and they said they could hear whispers coming from the veil behind the trees. Trying to be brave and encouraged by the power of boners, we continued pushing forward. After what seemed like hours, but was probably only 2 minutes, we were outside the girls' dorm, and there was only like one light on. There was no noise, but we still decided to go look to see if somebody was still up to be safe. Just before we got to the door, we saw something. It was the shadow of a man, but it had the head of a buck. It was huge and properly massive. We all froze, and bravery went out the window. It wasn't my proudest moment, but I ran. Every single one of us ran. Every cell in my being told me to bail, and I did. Once I ran, so did the others. We got back in 30 seconds flat as we got into the door, terrified out of our minds. We heard screams and I went straight to bed. I figured if I'm going to die, I was going to do so happy. The second night is when my beliefs were fully shaken. The whole day the girls were quiet. A few actually got their parents to fetch them. The day went as smooth as it possibly could go. Nobody wanted to head into the bushes. Then came the night. Nobody dared to go out. A few even peed in bottles. Screw using the bathroom outside, we thought. At about 1 a.m., a few of us managed to fall asleep, but unfortunately, I wasn't one of them. The area around us went dead quiet. The dogs even stopped barking. It was like the world hit mute. Then, one noise broke the silence. The door slid open. I slowly looked up, hoping it would be a counselor, but it was that thing in our dorm. It just stood there. I couldn't even see its eyes. It was just a buckhead. It was darker than the shadows in the night. That's how we spotted it in the dark. I was staring at it, too scared to look away, tears running down my eyes when I heard the only noise apart from my heart pounding. The sound of the guy next to me, crying in this anticlimactic way. The sounds of whatever this creature was, walking away, started to emanate. It was walking towards us, I think. I blacked out from fear. When I awoke in the morning, the next guy next to me was gone. They said he left during the night, but we all left that day. The tour ended a week early. I only saw him again a week later, and he left school. I do not know what I saw, but I will never, ever forget it. This happened about 13 years ago. I was in Boy Scouts, and the whole way there, my friend and I, who I'll call Ricky for privacy reasons, had our Nintendo DS out playing Pokemon, when one of the adults who were driving us up to the Table Rock in South Carolina told us about the trail that Native Americans used to consider dangerous. It was about 45 minutes into the ride, and I start reading about the dangerous trail on my phone. 3 people disappeared from there, and 1 person barely escaped. I thought it just happened to be a coincidence, but boy, was I wrong. We get to our campsite at around 9 p.m. I set my tent right by the woods, in detail with some more people because of curiosity about what happened. Later that night, we started hearing twigs and sticks break from the woods. I grabbed my pocket knife and go get another scout who we'll call Dwayne from his tent. He was an Eagle Scout and was about 6 foot tall. I was about 5'11", so we weren't too far off. When we went near the woods, we saw something human-like, but with pale skin. It made this loud screaming sound. That's when we booked it to the Scoutmasters. We just laid there and were really upset and had to be brought home at 2 a.m. because of the anxiety. Whatever that thing was, looked hungry or mad. If anyone knows what it could have been, please tell me. And I do apologize for how short this was, but thank you for sharing it anyway, if you do.
Thank you to Swamp Dweller for another great set of stories. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller. It's got thousands for you to listen to each and every night. Time for the cryptid report. Here we go with Robin Haynes, our cryptid reporter, the intrepid one who knows almost everything to do with all of this weird, strange cryptid world. Robin, back.
Hey, sweetie, how are you?
I am fantastic.
Good.
Comfortable. Fantastic, though. But that's okay. That's okay. Doing good. I'm doing good tonight. And how about you?
I am good. I just got done watching the presidential election, so that's all done. I got stuff running around in the backyard, stuff running around in the front yard. So good night.
That is wonderful. I want to hit you up with a question here because there
Okay.
is new reports coming out stating that New York State ranks among the top states for Bigfoot sightings.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Both
I
New
don't
York and Connecticut have had a number of big name sightings over the last few years. When people think of New York, of course we think New York City. We think
Mhm.
Long Island. We're not thinking of the upper part of the state and the western part of the state that is very, very wooded.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that they're like in the top 5, but there's a lot of activity. You get down in the Hudson Valley, oh my Lord. And it's not just Sasquatch you're gonna find. It is like a total freak show there. You're talking ETs, every cryptid known to mankind. They're not all good. Some of them are fine, but they're not all good. And they're really heavy in there. You know, I had talked to somebody for years that was down in the Hudson Valley that was having issues with them, and they were everywhere. There were UFOs over there, sightings from them, sightings of the ETs, the dogmen, the Sasquatch. It's very, very active in there. And people think the farther up the East Coast they go, the less they're going to see. And that's just so not true. There's not any place on planet Earth that they're not. There just isn't. They talk about them on the Hawaiian Islands. I know people, and I have contacts with people on the Hawaiian Islands, and they're there. They're a shorter version, but they're still there. You know, I mean, but you get up and you get into the New York area, you know, New Jersey in there. As soon as you get in the rural areas, they're all over the place. They really are. There's a lot of them over there. People don't realize that. You know, I've had
Well,
a lot of calls lately from up by Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, all up there.
what makes these creatures live in such densely populated areas?
You know, a lot of them want to watch us. Like we're so intent on watching them, we don't realize how much they want to watch us. I think a lot of it, you know, the ley lines, you know, if you follow ley lines because they're all energy and these beings all want to be by the energies and the frequency. And if you really think about it, in New York, it's so densely populated with people that their frequencies are there. And, you know, New York is busy and bustling and raring to go, which puts a higher frequency out. Now, granted, the anger and the hate and stuff brings it down, but you're talking about a lot of frequency, a lot of energy, and they're drawn to it. They really and truly are drawn to it. And I think that adds to it. And I know, like, when I worked with this person in the Hudson Valley, he had so much energy coming out of the ground at his place. It was ridiculous. You could remote view it and feel it. And there's just something about these areas that have a great energy pull to it. It makes it even more attractive to them. But again, you've got a lot of them that, well, they may not want contact. A lot of them do, and they like to people watch, just like we like to watch them.
I understand the people watching thing. I can understand their curiosity. What I don't understand is going into areas that are densely populated that and maybe I don't understand New York State being on the West Coast here very well. Okay. But when I think of New York State, I think of a state that, you know, has millions upon millions of people.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know, like in the New York City, you know, because it's so congested and the traffic and everything, that they would stand off more from. It wouldn't surprise me if, you know, one or two of them snuck down that way. But when you get out in the rural parts of it, yes, there's a lot of people, but there's a lot of open forest. There's a lot of open areas, and they'll get right in there. They get integrated in it. And again, you know, and excuse the term, but they are attention or not attention, but energy and frequency whores. They are drawn to it. They want to pull it. They want to use it. And you've got all these people that are very energetic. You know, they're hustling and bustling all over, and it's so busy. And there's lights everywhere and all of these things. And it does draw them to them. You know, I don't necessarily think you're going to find a lot of them in downtown, but on the outskirts of it, absolutely.
Well, I absolutely agree with you on that. And I think it's going to be absolutely great for people who may be looking for an encounter, that they don't have to travel that far, because that's one of the things, Robin, that I have noticed is everybody thinks you have to travel far into the densely deep forests, whether it's in the Appalachians on the East Coast or
Yeah.
whether it's in the Cascade Mountains on the West Coast. You don't need to. They're
No,
not far out if you find the signs.
right. And the other thing too is when you start thinking about them on a regular basis, remember they're all telepathic. They all mind speak. And whether you're getting mind speak or you think you are telepathic or not, it has nothing to do with it, because they already are. And it's not based on the fact that you have to be able to hear them in order for them to hear you. They can hear you anyway. They know your intent, they know your thoughts, they know all these things. And if you're thinking about them a lot, because they work on that collective consciousness, you're pinging to them. And now in their head, they're like, oh, wow, this person's thinking about me. More times than not, that brings them closer. I have clients that I work with, and they're like, I've never had an interest in them at all. I heard you on a show, and now I've been thinking about them. And now all of a sudden they're showing up. They're coming, and, a lot of them will come to them in dream state. And then people are like, well, why am I dreaming about these things? Like, I've never dreamt about them before. You're not dreaming about them. They're coming to you in dream state. They're making contact in a safe way. It's safe for you and it's safe for them. And they're there because they almost feel like they've been invited because you're thinking about them all the time.
Oh, I get that. I totally get where you're going with that. Totally get that. And it just makes me often wonder who's, like you said earlier, to kind of jump on what you said a little bit earlier, who's watching who?
Oh, yeah.
Because, and the reason why I say that is because I've been doing a lot of time out in the forest recently.
Mhm.
And it amazes me. Well, let's take this past Sunday. I was in an area where I know there's moose, saw the tracks. I know there's deer, saw the tracks. I know there's wolves and coyotes, saw the tracks.
Yeah.
I know there's mountain lions in that area. I know that there is rabbits in that area. I know that there are birds in that area and many other critters. I drove away seeing 2 rabbits all day.
So something else was around.
Well, is it that, or is it the fact that they were there, but considering we're not in nature every day, our eyes are not trained as to what to look for?
Well, I think so. But the other thing too is when you live in that 3D level, okay, which is where your physical body's at, because your body houses your soul and your consciousness. So you're in that 3D way. Your 3D eyes see just a very limited amount of what's there. When you raise your frequency, when you raise your energy, you start seeing things in what I call the paranormal spectrum, which means you are able to see more things than what you would see just in that 3D. But our physical body lives in the 3 dimensions. So, you don't see everything, you don't catch everything. But when your frequency is raised and you start seeing things from a higher frequency, you're going to see more in the woods. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything is going to be walking by in flesh and blood. What that means is you're going to see areas and you're going to be able to look at that and say, I can tell by looking at the way it is, there's something cloaked there. Or you're going to see shadows moving. Or like many people have been to my house and looked out through the front yard and see it looks like a body part going through because they don't cloak completely, and you see an arm or you see a leg. But that's because you're in a higher frequency. You're going to see things darting through the woods that you wouldn't have seen in that 3rd dimension. So they're there, you're just not seeing them because your frequency isn't high enough to be able to.
And they are masters of their own camouflage as well.
Oh, absolutely. They can blend in anything, they can morph into anything, they can shapeshift into anything. And it's all the cryptids, it's all the elementals, it's all the dimensionals. They can do all of those things. I mean, when I work with people, they're like, well, I don't see any of this stuff at all. And then they start working on their frequency. And then I'm getting phone calls and they're going, you won't believe what I saw. And I'm like, yeah, because you went out of that 3D vision, out of that physical place that you were. And now your frequency is up. You're seeing through a higher frequency and things are starting to pop. You're starting to notice things, where it looks like a shadow that darts across your living room floor. And you're like, what is this? And it could be a little person. It could be a dimensional. It could be an elemental. It's just the way you are now able to see it once you are out of the restraint of that 3D level. But they watch us, I think, more than what we watch them. I mean, we always think we're so clever and we're out there and we're going to sneak up on them. And it's such a load of beans because they've already been watching us. I mean, they do. They watch us all the time for a variety of reasons. They will send scouts out to where we are if there's a concern. If they want to know where we're at all times so that there's no chance we're going to sneak up on them and bother them. Others will come just out of curiosity.
Let me stop you right there. What do you mean by scouts for people who may not understand?
They will have certain members of the clan that will go out and watch the area to see if there's anything or anybody coming into their area that shouldn't be there. In the case of us, if they are unsure about our intent because they read our intent, if they are unsure about our intent, they will literally have these guards or scouts, it's basically the same thing, that will watch us to make sure we're not doing anything that's going to cause a conflict with them, that we're not doing anything that can hurt them. They would rather have somebody watch us to make sure that we aren't going to try to sneak up on them than just say, do what you want to do.
Okay. As we kind of go forward with this topic, we got about 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour here on the Cryptid Report with Robin Haynes. We talk a lot about Sasquatch. Do these same rules apply for, say, Chupacabra or Dogman?
Dogman, absolutely. I mean, absolutely with the Dogman. Your Chupacabras, I think, not that they don't watch us because they actually do. I don't think they have the curiosity that per se the Dogman or the Sasquatch have, but they're definitely going to keep an eye on it. I mean, you have to remember all these things that are living out there, we are considered a threat, even though really we're more at risk than they are. Because if they want to get to you, there's nothing you can do to stop it. But they do watch us. They do keep an eye on us. They do it to make sure we're not coming after them. They do it out of curiosity. But yeah, all these things are going to watch us. Now, the goat people tend to stay a little bit farther back. So do the Chupacabras. But depending on the kind of cryptid, some will come closer than others. And at some point, all of them will check on us.
Robin Haynes is here with the Cryptid Report. And we'll get to some audience questions when we return. How do they know how to make fire?
They've been around for so long, and they learned from Indians. And depending on the clan is whether or not they'll make fire. Now, the clan I had in Michigan never had a problem making fire. They made it all the time. I haven't noticed it as much here, but we're in the southern states. There's not as much reason to do it. And the light just went out because the cat tipped it over.
Where I am, we don't see a lot of small fires in the forest. Where do they make these fires?
They'll go in underground caves or wherever it is they're staying and do it. They use the older wood because it doesn't smoke. And that's, I think, why people are always saying, oh, no, they don't make fire. They actually do. They really and truly do. And when I lived in Michigan, I had a bonfire. It was a cement slab, and we would do the bonfires on it. And once it was all done and cooled off, I would literally go and clean it all off. And they would go and drag the logs back, and then you'd look out in the backyard, and all of a sudden the logs were back and it was on fire again. And then the one that I was really close to there, his mate was actually from the southern states down in Florida, and she'd be freezing in the wintertime. And he would talk to me about how, that he taught her how to make fire, and he made fire, and that way she would stay warm. But if you're looking for smoke from them, you're not going to find it. They use the older wood that when they burn it, there is no smoke to it.
Robin, on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here for our final break. at the bottom of the hour, we have Robin Haynes, the Cryptid Report. We're going to take some audience questions when we come back, and make sure, if you're in our YouTube channel, we love it when Robin's here. Makes the night that much more fun. We'll be right back, everybody. This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. So much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they got really quiet for the last couple of weeks. They slowed down a bit. Mindspeak was still there, but they weren't as active. But I noticed that while they weren't as active and running all over the place, they were really making contact with a lot of people. I've been surprised, thrilled, but surprised how many people have contacted me and said that, I'm hearing them talk in my head, or they're coming to me in dream state. I never was ever interested in them, and now I can't quit thinking about them, and they're showing up in my dreams. And, it's a crazy time right now.
I don't know why, though.
Well, the frequency is up. We're having energy flares, solar flares. All this is going on. We have had the presidential election. You've got everybody's energy and frequency is up. Everybody's excitable about one thing or another. There's things going on in our world, good and bad. And the bad stuff, when they feel that negativity, they back off because it makes them physically ill and they don't want to be around it or repels them. But then when you have happiness and joyful things, then they're right up front because they want to pull that energy off you because it feels good.
I wish that would happen at my daytime job.
Oh, I'm telling you. Well, I let the dogs out the other night, and now they've gotten to where the dogs will run over to the fence and bark and bark and bark, and then you'll hear them come through the woods, and they'll come right up by the fence by the dogs. They love playing with the dogs. There was a big black male that was out there the other night, and I could see the outline of him, and I could hear him walking through. I have all these big, tall bushes and brush on the one side of the fence, and you could see the outline of him. You could see the eye shine now and then when he turned towards the house, and you could hear the bipedal walking. And they were having a ball over there with him. They love him. They've never, ever bothered my dogs, but they will go up to the fence with them. And now, every time they go out there, it used to be they would be out there and I'd let the dogs out and the dogs would notice they're there. Now it's switched. As soon as the dogs start barking out there, they come right up towards the fence. You can hear them coming through the woods towards the fence. Never heard them. And the dogs are happy as can be, but they like them. At least they're nice. They don't bother the mini pigs either. I've got mini pigs. They never bother my pigs. They don't bother the cats, anything.
So during the first hour break here tonight, I decided to go outside, check the weather. And what's spooky about my backyard is it's completely dark. And then as I'm walking outside, or I notice out the window before going outside that my sensor light went off. And I'm going outside to look outside, and now I'm on alert because I don't know. I don't know what's there. I really don't know what is there. I'm thinking it was a deer. Excuse me. Because they usually wander through. But there's always that what if. What if it's a mountain lion? What if it's a bear?
But why would that turn the light off? Wouldn't that turn the light on because it's motion sensor? Oh, I thought you said off.
No, turn it on.
See, I used to have the security cameras out front because we get a lot of deer through here, and I like watching the deer. And so then I put the app on my tablet so that I could watch them out in the front yard. And it worked great. I watched the deer every night. I watched the raccoons, the possums, all of it. And then the Sasquatch started coming in, and I would get them. I have it on the security camera videos of them walking in between the cars. They'd be circling the cars and walking up and down the cars up by the house. And I watched them do all kinds of stuff. And then they took out all my security cameras.
Hold on. A couple people want to see my dog.
Aw.
There he is.
Oh, he's adorable.
He's full grown.
See a Chihuahua?
Yeah, purebred.
He's adorable.
There you go, T-Bone. Quickly here, big thank you to T-Bone with a hat trick, Simon with a hat trick, Richard, Trucker Andrew, and Cosmic Joe for the great super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. Thank you very much. Oh, and Richard times 2, pardon me. Richard times 2. And here we go. Final half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We are extremely happy to have you all here with us tonight as we continue the Cryptid Report. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Robin Haynes, the Cryptid Report continues on. And Robin, we're going to get to some audience questions right now.
Sounds good.
It's always a pleasure to have you here, by the way.
I love being here. Thanks.
I know you do. And we love having you here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start off with Sierra. Why do you say that spirits are attracted to energies in the land? What kind of energies are these?
Well, I mean, everybody has, as far as a person goes, everybody's body is composed of energy, frequency, and light. It's not an energy that's going to be like you're going to run around the block or you're going to go play basketball. It's an energy that's created within your body. It's what you are encompassed with. The land is energized. There's energy from the land. Everything has energies. The ley lines are a stronger form of energy, but the earth is the biggest energizer battery that there is. Okay, so like when you do grounding, when you're doing any kind of energy work, you pull it from the energy, you pull it from the ground. That's why they call it grounding. You can pull it from the atmosphere, but everything has an energy base. And spirits are attracted to it. Like if you have somebody that's passed away, okay, the reason that they actually are able to come back and make contact is they pull energy. That's why the lights flicker. That's why you'll go in a room and it might be colder in a certain spot because they pulled the energy from it. That's how they manifest in so they can do whatever they want to do. When it comes to these cryptids, they're high energy beings. They feed off that energy. The negative things, the bad things, they like the lower frequency and the darker energy. But things that are pure energy are going to be drawn to it. So it's an energy that's right in the ground, and it's an energy that we already encompass in our body that attracts them.
Got you. All right. Follow up from Sierra. What is it about these energies that draws them?
It just feels good. It really does. It just feels good. You know, it's like our physical bodies want to sleep because then we feel rested. They fill up on this energy, and not only it doesn't make them feel rested, but it makes them feel stronger. Okay, so it makes their bodies stronger. It makes them be able to use their abilities because they tap into the energy and the frequencies. You use your abilities because your frequency is higher. Your frequency gets higher because of the energy that you make in your body and your mindset. So they use the energies to use the paranormal abilities to do whatever they want to do. And it just feels better.
It always just feels better.
I know. It's just like getting a giant hug. It is.
I
It's just
agree.
like, oh, it feels so good.
I totally agree. Let's go over to our next question. This one comes from T-Bone. Robin, what's up with the different vocalizations?
It's all a form of communication. Okay. A certain vocalization will mean a certain thing. It's almost like, and it isn't another language, but in a way it's used as if it's another language. When you go out there and, like, let's say you hear a certain type of bird, okay, but it's actually them. And then all of a sudden you hear that same bird, a half mile away in another place. They're doing that because they're making that call to each other to alert the rest of them what's going on in the woods, that you're coming, you're walking, what you are, if they know you, if they feel you're a threat. It's all about communication, and it's like their own little secret Morse code.
The vocalizations that they make aren't just talking. We've heard talkings, we've heard whoops,
Right.
we've heard screams, roars, whistles, sounding
Animal
like
calls. Yeah.
animal calls. Obviously, they all have some sort of different meaning, whether it's for communication or whether it's for camouflage.
Absolutely. It's a
How do
form of
they-
communication. Every
Okay.
call they make means something.
Okay. Explain some of those. Like, say what they call the samurai chatter. What is that?
Well, like I said, every one of them means something different. So, like, if they're doing the samurai chatter, that could be just a vocalization that they are putting. I mean, it could mean whatever the clan wants it to be. It could be just putting that out there so the clan knows where they're at. It could be putting it out there for the clan to know that they're hunting, or whether or not, they're just out there and they're checking the ground, or if they've seen something. Every clan is going to set up their calls for what they want it to be so that only the clan members know. I mean, you can go outside and hear an owl, and then all of a sudden, like, if you're walking out in the woods and you hear an owl off to your right hand side, and then all of a sudden you hear another one out to the left, because they're making these calls to each other, and it's basically saying, hey, there's somebody walking in the woods, there's a stranger in the woods. And then the other one will sound off back, and they communicate. I was in Michigan one time, and we had like 3 feet of snow on the ground. I walked outside, I walked towards the woods, and all of a sudden I hear bullfrogs. How many bullfrogs are hopping around in 3 feet of snow when it's below zero weather? I mean, not a whole lot. And I'd hear one bullfrog in one spot, I'd hear another. If there's 5 of them out there, you're going to hear 5 of them doing it back and forth to each other and sounding off back and forth. It's just a type of communication. And then people will say to me, well, they're telepathic. Why don't they just do it that way? They can, but they can also do the noises. And again, it goes back to the clan. Some clans don't want them using the paranormal abilities. Some of them do. And then when they use the paranormal abilities, they're using their energy. And then they're using their frequency, which they guard like you wouldn't believe. And they know exactly when to use it and what not to. And for them, you have to understand, they don't really understand that not everything's telepathic. So if they're speaking to each other telepathically, they're assuming that we would pick it up as well. Or whatever it is, whether it's a deer or whether it's whatever. If they make the sounds and it's sounds that are actually out of nature, they think it's going to be unnoticed because you're not seeing them. You're only hearing the sounds of nature. Only they know what it means, and they're going to send it back and forth to each other.
All right. Let's move on to necessary. What is a chupacabra?
A chupacabra, everybody I think has a different opinion of them. Myself, I mean, they consider them a type of cryptid, but they're more of an alien type cryptid from what my understanding is. They have some out in Texas where they call them a chupacabra. They look like a bald dog, and they have these nodules that go off their back end. And they call them, the chupacabra because they drink the blood of the animals and things. But if you really go back and you look at it and you do your research on it, chupacabras actually look and behave like a type of ET. So personally, myself, I think there's more than one variation of them, because some of them walk on 2 legs. They've seen them in Mexico. They've seen them all over the place. They call them a chupacabra. But you get down in the eastern states and you go to Texas, and that's not what they call a chupacabra there. Their interpretation of a chupacabra is on 4 feet, looks like a dog, is hairless, and has these flaps or nodules hanging off its back end. You know, so I guess it would just depend on where you're at and what that person thinks it is. But like the ones that they have in Mexico, they look more reptilian. They're actually really creepy looking. And again, those ones have paranormal abilities. Now, I have never heard of anybody that had seen or encountered the ones in Texas ever mentioning that there's any abilities to them. I think those are just some other thing that's running around. But, again, they call them a chupacabra. In my personal mind, that is not what I consider a chupacabra. I consider the chupacabras to be more like what they see down in Mexico.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure that out. That the Mexican ones are different than the Puerto Rican ones that are different than the ones seen in the U.S.
Well, you go back to these subspecies. It's like we have the Sasquatch. We have ones that call themselves the Sukaloo. It's a cultural thing. We've got the swamp apes. You get to Hawaii, you've got these things that look like a Sasquatch, but they're short and they're small. It just depends on where you're at. But I think the ones in Puerto Rico and the ones in New Mexico are more the kind that are more, as far as I'm concerned, more alien related. Where the ones in Texas, from the people that I've talked to that have encountered them, the things that I've read or seen about them, those to me are more just of a physical being. They're just like a freak of nature. I mean, they're there. They exist. Nobody really knows what to do with them.
What about these Gugway type Sasquatch that seem to be the more sinister kind?
They're awful. Gugways are really something that all they do is kill. They're extremely strong. I don't think they're overly bright. Their face is more looking like a baboon. Okay, so they don't look like a regular Sasquatch. They have the large body, the broad shoulders, and they're covered in hair. So that part would resemble a Sasquatch. And that's why people think they are until it's too late. But their face has a baboon shape to it. And these things, all they do is kill. And they will go after the Sasquatch anytime they can. They'll go after the dogmen. And all they want to do is kill. They're very dangerous. Absolutely one of the most dangerous cryptids I think that's out there.
Where are they located?
They have Gugwe all over. I know your southern states, or not really southern, but like, Louisiana has a lot of them. I never noticed a lot in Michigan, but your lower states, the mid-central states seem to have quite a bit of them. But they are all over. They are not located to just a certain area, but they are bigger, more broad-chested, and they have the baboon face, and they have zero tolerance for anything that's breathing. I mean, they really are. They're like on a seek and destroy mission at all times. They're not anything you want to mess with. The only way you can kill them, because they're so thick-skinned and the bone is so thick, the Sasquatch, if they have to take one out, they rip their heads off. Because they're very tough. They're harder to kill than anything.
What makes them so tough to kill? What makes them physically more dangerous than a Sasquatch?
Well, I think mentally they're more dangerous. I mean, it's like they're consumed with hate all the time. They really are evil. And they kill anything they find. It doesn't matter if it's a person or not. There was a case years ago where a man and a woman were living in their cabin, and they had a cabin out in the woods, and they were out in their backyard, and they noticed stick structures out there, and they thought, okay, what are these things? And those were actually from the Sasquatch. They're out there checking out these stick structures when they got attacked by Gugwe. They tried to run back to the house to get in the house. The woman made it into the house. The man didn't. He was trying to divert him away from his wife. He tried to climb up in a tree, which, if you think about it, that's really not going to help you all, because all these things can climb really well. And they literally ripped him limb from limb. He ended up getting killed. They didn't do anything. They were just in their backyard. You don't have to do anything with a Gugwe. A Gugwe, its primary focus is to destroy. You know, I mean, you're better off going to the LBL with the dogmen that want to kill you than deal with the Gugwe. And if you say it to the Sasquatch that they're bigger and stronger, they take offense to it. But they really seem to be so overpowering. You know, I've seen like a jawbone from one. I've seen, some of the teeth from one, and they're massive. They are absolutely massive. And I don't feel like they're overly bright. Just the things that they do make no sense. But like they will sit there and they will like stalk and jump a clan of Sasquatch and think nothing of it. You don't have to go out and irritate them or bother them. They come looking for you. They're really, really bad. But the best way to tell them apart is to look at the facial features, because they have the more pronounced face. I mean, they do. They just look like a baboon in the face.
There is one famous picture on Facebook, or pardon me, on Google, that you can search about these Gugwe, where these people's dog went missing.
And it was carrying the dog.
And if you look down to the bottom right corner of this photograph, you could see the Gugwe with the baboon type face.
Yes, absolutely.
And it has the dog in its left hand.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's very legitimate. And that is definitely 100% a Gugwe. Yes. I think that's probably one of the best pictures I've seen of one. But they are not anything that you want to run into, because they don't even think twice. They don't process like a Sasquatch would. Where Sasquatch, even the aggressive ones, have a certain amount of compassion. These things don't. They are a hot trigger any time of the day. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to deal with anything. They want to do what they want to do. And they think nothing of going after the other cryptids and just killing them for the sake of killing them.
All right, let's move on to Hillbilly Herb. What's the best way to provide more energy to encourage spirits to manifest?
Well, if you're talking about like a spirit, like isn't a ghost, they're going to pull energy from the room. Okay. When you have electricity in your house, you've got the wires that run through the wall. So even if you don't have a light on, they're active wires. There's already energy there. They can pull energy from you. Like if you're out doing energy work, or if you're, you got yourself, when you do energy work and then you go to work on your frequency, you build that all up inside of you. They can pull it from you. You might be fine 1 minute and then feel like you're just extremely tired. It's because something's pulling the energy off of you. But if you're in your home and it's a spirit, they'll pull it off a light bulb. They'll pull it off a TV. They'll pull it off of anything that you have in your house. It's not about getting more energy for them, because they're going to pull it themselves. But when they pull that energy, that's how they can manifest themselves to, per se, knock something over, knock a picture off the wall, or even manifest so that you can physically see them in a spirit form. They'll just go ahead and pull it off of whatever they can, whether it's off of you personally. But normally in a home, they're going to go for your electronics. They're going to go for the light bulbs. They're going to go for the TVs. But know that even if you don't have anything on in your home, if the power is turned on to your home, all those wires running through your walls are live, and they will go ahead and pull the electricity off of that as well.
Let's go to Super Crazy, who is asking, what connection do Bigfoots have with the UFO phenomena?
Well, a lot of people actually see them getting in and off ships. I have as well. Because of what's on their father's side, there is that UFO and ET connection. There is no scientific way to prove it, because we would have to have DNA from ETs, which the government does, but regular people don't. So you can't compare it. That's why, on the studies, it always says unknown on the father's side. But they do have that ET connection. And it is not uncommon to talk to witnesses that have seen them going up in ships. They get some of them get excited by it. We used to have, my group would get, there's a certain ship that every now and then would show up, and mine would go crazy over it. They're very excited about it. But then other ones would come and they'd hide, and they'd tell me to go to the house, don't come out, stay in the house. There was at one point a frequency that emitted from a pyramid in Bosnia. And it was like a humming or like a vibrational frequency. And something told me to play it for the Sasquatch. So I had it on my phone. I'd gotten the recording off of YouTube. I went out in the woods and played it, and you would have thought it was Mardi Gras out there. They were so excited. And they came literally out of the woods, and they're looking around and they're looking around. You know, they were thrilled by it. But then there were other ones that would show up, because I've been around UFOs my whole life. Other ones would show up and they were terrified. But they do have a connection to them. You know, they like the good ETs. They don't like the bad ETs. Some of the bad ETs will actually try to take them and kill them. But the good ones, they love. And they get excited by it. But I've talked to several people that have seen them going on ships. I saw them getting on a ship. You know, it's crazy. You wouldn't think it would happen, but it does. But it has to do with genetics.
Let's move on here, as we got about 2 minutes here with you, Robin.
Okay.
Let's go to Sierra. How are you getting this information about cryptids? Is this from reports from people?
That's a really good question. Actually, I wish more people would ask me that. No, I don't get it from people. I get it from the cryptids. I have some that I verbally speak with, like in front of them and communicate with. I get mind speak. They have been teaching me and training me since I was a very small kid. I've gotten it from Bigfoots. I've got it from Sasquatch, and I've got it from dogmen. I've got it from cat people. Then there's what they call the Earth Keeper, which is basically an essence that's all over the world and guards the earth. And I because I'm telepathic, I can speak to him. I've talked to the master, you know, the whole thing with Admiral Byrd and the master. There's actually 4 masters. They rotate every 22 and a half life years as far as which one's down there. So all of these paranormal beings, I can go and physically talk to, as well as mind speak with them. And they have been teaching me this stuff my entire life. I have not learned anything from a book. I have not learned things because I, you know, interviewed other people. Have I learned that what their experiences are? Absolutely. There was a friend of mine that I had years ago that knew a little bit about stuff, and she was very helpful, but she learned everything the same way I did. But 98% of everything I know, I learned directly from the sources.
Robin, tell everybody where they can find your information.
You can find me on my website, www.paranormal-empowerment.com, or you can find me on Facebook under Robin Haynes. No middle initial, just Robin Haynes, Haynes.
I think that's wonderful. You are amazing, Robin. Every time.
Thank you.
You just make it so much better.
I love you guys. You're awesome.
Yes, I agree with you. We will talk to you next week, my good friend.
Yes,
thank you,
and I will be here.
Meeting us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And keep the questions coming. That's how we learn. And I learn from everybody else as well.
Thank you to Robin Haynes. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar, God himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LDAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, #SpacedOutRadio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyrighted Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the blue train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Simon, I was going to ask that, but never came back. So, oh, Richard, thank you again. Yeah, Robin jumped out, dude. I was going to ask her, but she jumped out. So I banned that elephant person during the show because the idiot is just trolling my other shows now and putting up comments, including when you try and take a shot at me by saying that that Grant Cameron has an issue with me, when I just talked to Grant a couple of days ago about something and everything, there's an issue. Then they were bringing up that no guest wants to come on this show. Okay, brought up this author who, trying for aha caught you moments. And I got 0 F's to give on aha caught you moments. That is wokeism at its best. Okay. And instead, I love these people out there who think that they can just without even asking, without even having any knowledge, they take a headline and they try to perceive it as absolute fact. So I'm going to bring out the absolute fact here, because he brought up a couple names. Number one, he brought up Sarah Gam, saying that obviously people don't want to come on my show because I bitch about them. I never bitched about Sarah Gam coming on the show. I said it was disappointing to see her go on other channels before ours. But what the moron doesn't know, and I'll fill you all in because you're highly educated and you think on a roundabout way, is that Sarah Gam and I talk on Facebook. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, my. Oh, my. Then he talks about the author Anthony, about how Anthony, this author from the UK, was pissed off with us because Dirty Filth, who does my booking, not me, Dirty Filth does. Okay, and how the process works. See, this is what this elephant idiot doesn't want to know. Okay, how the process works is when we book a guest, Dirty Filth confirms the guest. And in order to confirm the guest for the date, first and foremost, we ask a couple of things. Number one, we ask for their contact information, including a phone number. And number two, we ask for a bio and a photo. Seems pretty simple, doesn't it? Well, this person stated that they would like to come on the show. So when it comes to the week before the show, one of the beautiful things that Dirty Filth does is he contacts every guest who wants to come on the show, confirming their date. This Anthony person, who I'd still have on the air, did not confirm the show until the show had already started, or just before it started, one of the two. I don't really remember. Okay, it was one of the two. The show had either started or was like within minutes of starting, like 10, 15 minutes. We did not hear from him until that happened. Now, in the end, it's my call. And if I don't hear from a guest, or Dirty Filth doesn't hear from a guest prior to showtime, we have to do what we do to make sure a show happens. See, we're not a podcast, okay? We are a live radio show, which I know all of you know. We are a live radio show that always has to have a show. We're not the type of show where we can say, oh, well, my guest canceled, so I'm just going to take the night off. We'll see you all tomorrow night. That's not how this works. We have responsibilities to our radio stations in order to provide them programming. Now, I don't understand what's hard for this, what's the word I'm looking for? Delinquent to try and figure out. But when a person doesn't get back to us in time, we have to take other actions. This is why when we have guests on, we explain that we are a terrestrial radio show, not a podcast. So what kicked it off was yesterday. Oh, then to follow up the final comment, he asked, when's the last time I talked to Grant Cameron? And he goes, I just did, or something along those lines. Great. You talked to Grant Cameron. Wonderful. Which podcast was it on? Do you have his phone number? Did you send him a message on social media? Is that what you're bragging about? Because I'm leaving Grant alone right now. I'm not going to say why. I'm not going to say the reasoning. Okay? Because that's personal. But I talked to Grant just a couple of days ago. Okay, to check in on him, which is what I do. So this all stemmed because this elephant was having an aha caught ya moment and felt the need to want to treat me like an asshole. So I fired back. See, here's the thing, guys. I always used to say, don't block people. I hated people being blocked. I really did. But in my wisdom over the last couple of weeks where I'm coming out of my depressive state and I'm feeling very, very good, not only health-wise, but about myself. The one thing that I learned is I have, as I told you, 0 F's to give. I'm not here to play drama. I'm not here to play aha, caught you moments, okay, from somebody who's reading a sentence out of a paragraph. I'm not here to do that. If I don't make you happy or this show doesn't make you happy, maybe we're not the show for you. I used to care about that. Now I don't. Okay, if we're not the show for you, hit the road. Okay, you're not going to hear anything from us because we don't play that game. But people try to want to sink you into that. And I'm bringing this up because this was an annoyance. It's like a zit that wouldn't pop. The elephant zit that wouldn't pop. So this masterful mind of YouTube, who has a grand total of 2 subscribers, not 200, not 22, 2, is going to tell me how to run my radio show. If you guys have questions about what we do or whatever, just ask. Because if you want to blow up, and I know you guys don't, okay? But there's people out there who feel it necessary to blow up for no reason, for an aha caught you moment. Just ask me. I'm always willing to have a conversation. I've had that listeners ask me things before. Well, Dave, why do you do things that way? It's because this is the reason, whatever that reason may be. Solve the problem right there. But I don't do hyper woke. I don't do aha caught you moments. So I've come to the conclusion now that it's real simple. If you're going to come in and be an asshole in my chat room, you're gone. Now I realize we do have tolerance over that. But if you're going to keep firing on these caught you moments, I don't have time for it. I got a lot more impressive things. I got a lot more impressive things to be concerned about in my life. Example, when will my son's Christmas present get here? Example, what will I get my grandson for Christmas this year? That is more important than playing aha, caught you moments. Hi, Deborah Rooney. Now, for my wrenches, I know that you guys know the rules of the show. Give people tolerance, okay? Give tolerance, okay? If you gotta mute them for a while, give them a 5-minute penalty. That's fine. But if someone is deliberately going out of their way to be a dickhead like this elephant person, Mr. 2 subscribers who knows everything about YouTube, okay, then just get rid of them. Get rid of them. I don't want regulars taken out, though. I will deal with regulars, okay, because you never know who's having a bad day. This is why I try not to hyper block people, okay? This is why I try to realize that that person may be having a real crappy day and they've decided to try and take it out on me. But I'm done with the shenanigans. I'm done with the trolls. I'm done with the wokeisms of aha, caught you moments. And this person, for being an idiot, got blocked. So it's real simple. Come in. How many times have you guys heard me say this? And once again, I know the people who get it, get it. Come in here and just enjoy the woo, man. Just enjoy the woo, enjoy the stories, enjoy the fun of the show. I don't understand how that is so hard. Hi, Lex Diaz. How you doing, buddy? I just don't understand how that is so hard for people. Right? It's difficult. You know, it's so horrible that we ask you to have fun. I'm a real tyranny kind of person for asking you guys to enjoy the show. Even if you don't believe the guests, just sit back and enjoy the show. You guys have heard me say that hundreds of times over the years. So I don't get these people who pull that crap. Hi, Amanda Carroll. How's your evening? So, anyways, I just thought I would let you in because wokeism in the troll world, like this person, what they tend to do is, because I know a bunch of you go into different chat rooms, okay, and you see many of the same people who are here each and every night, and you chat with them. So when you see Woke Elephant, what I want you to do, when he starts spreading his spew about me, I've erased the comments because I didn't mean to. They actually got deleted when I banned him from our channel. Okay, but he's gonna now you know the reason why he got banned from the channel. Because I don't do those moments. I don't. Like I said, 0 F's to give. I'm here to produce the best show that I can. My radio stations love me. Their ratings are high. YouTube is secondary to me. As much as I love doing the YouTube thing, especially for all of you and the internet interaction that this has grown, I love it. And trust me, I will say this. If I'm an asshole, there are way bigger assholes than me in this field who have way more subscribers than I do. So that's just the way it is. anyways, I just wanted to point that out to you guys. Okay. Still just wanted to point that out to you guys that, we see that these people do go into other rooms and they do try to stir the crap. Oh, that Dave Scott guy, what a jerk, what an idiot, what this, what that. He's having troubles getting guests. Our November is booked solid except for 3 days. 3 days. And our December, we haven't started booking yet. How's that for honesty? So for this person, just to show you, because this person obviously thinks I'm an idiot. Let me show you. That's December. Let me just make sure. That's December. We have a lot of dates to fill there, which we will. We usually are booked 2-3 weeks in advance. Okay. This is our November. Oh my, look at all those guests. Look at all those guests. But apparently, we have troubles booking guests. Look at that. But apparently, we don't get guests on this show. They don't want to come on this show, according to Woke Elephant. So, please, just explain. So let's just, a show of hands or a show of words. You guys see in the calendar there that we're not struggling for guests, correct? You guys see that, right? Thank you, Deboruni. Appreciate you. I'm not worried about the troll. So you guys do see that. Yeah. So I'm going to take that off. Yeah. That's our schedule. I book the orange. Dirty Filth is blue. And Robbie G is gray. Thank you again, Richard Minnick. Appreciate you, my man. So, hi, Kurt M. So, that's the story. I just wanted to fill you guys in on that. Okay. Just wanted to fill you in on that. That way, when you get asked about it, or you see morons like this, one second, just confirming something. When you see morons like this who are trying to, try and make their woe is me crap in other rooms, which they do, you can now say to them, thank you, Major Lee. Appreciate you. You can now say, that's not true. Thank you, Human Carl. Human Carl, our political pundit for the night. T-Bone, thank you again, my man. Appreciate you guys. So, anyways, I really do want to, before I say goodnight to you guys, so I can download these files, I really want to say that our audience at YouTube tonight, you were absolute gems considering the amount of political news today with the election and everything. I want to just say a big thank you for coming in here and just allowing that to set free for a little bit and allowing you guys to just come in and enjoy Geraldine and Robin tonight. So thank you very much for that. That meant a lot to me. And, you know, whatever side you lean on politically, remember this. The aliens, they don't care if you're a Republican. They don't care if you're a Democrat. They don't. And I really hope for whatever happens moving forward that all of you in America remember, you guys are the hold the big stick in the world, and there are many of us who are outside your country who absolutely love and adore the United States. And I am one of them. I love the USA. And you have a lot of good things going. And just keep it up. Things will get better. Things are going to get better. And that's my political speech for today. Love you guys. I'm not... Tim, I would like to respond to that, but I can't. I would love to respond to that. Pray for Canada right now. You think you got it bad down there? You have no idea about what a dictator is. You have no idea about anything like that until you take a good look at Canada right now. Think Venezuela. Think what happened in Venezuela. That started to happen in Canada. Dear leader, will hopefully be gone in a year. Right? So everything's going to be great, guys. Everything is going to be great. And thank you for hanging out in our chat room. And by the way, the whole Venezuela comment, I'm serious about that. I'm serious about that. You're all good. Nothing's going away. They're not going to take any rights away. They're not going to take any pointy sticks away. You're going to be good. And even if it went the other way, they aren't taking any of your rights away. They aren't taking any of your pointy sticks away. You'd have been good. Love you guys. Love you, all of our listeners in the U.S. Tomorrow night on the show, let me look at my calendar that's full. Brian Kniffel joins us. We're going to talk some Lost Monsters with him tomorrow night. We're going to have a good time. See you all tomorrow night, everybody. Thank you tonight to Simon times 4, T-Bone times 1, 2, 3, 4, Richard times 5, Major Lee, Human Carl, Tim Mothman and his goatee, Deborah Rooney, Trucker Andrew, Cosmic Joe. Much love to all of you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.